Chapter 292. With Wei San and Wei Si taking the lead, the dozen or so witnesses all swore heart demon oaths. How could they not speak after they swore heart demon oaths? If they were bribed by someone else, it would be too strange. Chu Xiang smiled. Come all of you. You must tell me everything you know about this matter. You must tell me everything you know about this matter. Otherwise, the Wei clan will accuse me of framing them. Linmu. The Wei clan patriarch and the other Wei clan members all looked displeased, as if they wanted to take responsibility for Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang leaned back in her soft chair indifferently. Let's begin. I hate dealing with shameless people the most. Chu Xiang's every word was like a stab to the Wei clan's lungs. Someone from the Wei clan tried to make a move, but was beaten back by Jin Jun. The Wei clan patriarch had no choice but to intervene. His voice was heard even before his figure was seen. You arrogant people, don't think you can behave atrociously in my Wei clan. The Wei clan patriarch flew over on his sword and lightly struck out with his palm. A huge palm print fell from the sky, heading straight for Jin Jun. Jin Jun chuckled. He didn't make a move at all, but directly threw out a high-grade defensive magic treasure. Good timing. You can try out my newly refined magic treasure. Everyone exclaimed in surprise. They knew Jin Jun was good at refining tools. All of his tools were mid-grade, with the occasional high-grade magic treasure. But the magic treasure he took out today was a high-grade magic treasure. Jin Jun's tool refining skills had improved so much. Was it all because of Lin Mu's guidance? If that was the case, they would also protect Lin Mu like this if they were in his shoes. That magic treasure was refined by Chu Xiang and Jin Jun together, so it was naturally very powerful. Even if that palm strike was from a nascent soul cultivator, it would still dissipate when it collided with the magic treasure. Jin Jun took back the magic treasure and fiddled with it. It seems you're still refining it well. Chu Xiang was all smiles. So the Wei clan is relying on a nascent soul ancestor to run amok in the South Shore continent? They're really sparing no effort to prevent witnesses from telling the truth. Is this old man going to kill the witnesses I found with great difficulty with a slap next? The Wei clan was clearly angry because she targeted them, but her words successfully shifted everyone's attention to the testimony. What was going on with the Wei clan? They had interrupted the witnesses time and time again. Whether they were innocent or not, wouldn't they know after listening to them? After all, they had sworn a heart demon oath. Everyone was no longer silent, and their gazes towards the Wei clan also became vigilant. Especially that nascent soul ancestor. Wasn't it because of this person that the Wei clan became the #1 clan? Chu Xiang wasn't wrong at all. They naturally had to guard against what this nascent soul stage ancestor wanted to do. The nascent soul stage ancestor snorted, and sat on the main seat vacated by the Wei clan head. Son, don't talk nonsense. This old man wants to see how these people you found are going to slander my Wei clan. The Wei clan missed out on the Chu clan's treasures, and the nascent soul realm ancestor personally went to see it. As the saying goes, what is true cannot be false, and what is false cannot be true. Naturally, he was not afraid. Moreover, he was used to being the #1 person on the South Bank. He didn't take people like Chu Xiang seriously at all. Whether it was right or wrong, it was wrong for someone to offend him. Chu Xiang liked his arrogance very much, because the more arrogant he was, the easier it was for everyone to turn against him. If the Wei clan could produce a person like Wei Lingxiao, how good could the Wei clan head and the nascent soul stage ancestor be? Seeing them today, they were indeed trash. Chu Xiang motioned for the witnesses to speak. Immediately, the maids, servants, guards, gardeners, and others described in detail what the Chu clan's daily life was like. After Wei Lingxiao and my older sister got engaged, he was very cold the first few times he came. When he met my older sister in the garden, he was a little disdainful. We servants are the best at observing people's expressions. At that time, my older sister was shy and didn't dare to look at him, but he saw everything clearly. I served Zhou Xinlian. After my older sister got engaged, she was happy on the surface, but when I was cleaning the room, I found 2 broken cups. Zhou Xinlian broke them by accident, but her cultivation wasn't low. She hadn't broken a cup for many years. After that, I followed her and met Wei Lingxiao in the garden. She took the initiative to talk to Wei Lingxiao. She worshipped the first young master. Wei Lingxiao has come to the Chu family more often, but I've secretly seen him meet Zhou Xinlian twice in private. That was 2 years ago. The day before the master and madam passed away, Zhou Xinlian saw Wei Lingxiao and cried. Wei Lingxiao comforted her for a long time. Before the master and madam passed away, they ate Zhou Xinlian's hometown dishes. She didn't like to cook at all. My mother-in-law's old friend's daughter served the madam. After the madam passed away, we found her body. It was too chaotic at that time, and Zhou Xinlian had to pray for the master and madam. She dismissed all of us, and we couldn't find anyone to take charge. Now that I think about it, it's very likely that she killed us to keep us quiet. I entered the Chu clan after the master and madam passed away. Wei Lingxiao came to the Chu clan almost every day. Every day, he would stay in Zhou Xinlian's room for a long time. He didn't allow us to come close and disturb him. I also entered the Chu clan later. I was one of the servants who beat up sister in the photo stone that day. That day, Zhou Xinlian wanted to steal sister's jade gourd pendant. It was said that the pendant was the key to enter the Chu clan's forbidden area. At that time, sister refused to give it to her, so Zhou Xinlian told us to beat her and insult her. Then Wei Lingxiao came and saw it. Not only did he not stop us, he even told us to teach that trash a lesson. In the end, he snatched the jade gourd and gave it to Zhou Xinlian. Nonsense! Master Wei angrily rebuked. This time, Chu Xiang didn't need to speak. The Li clan and Lu clan disagreed. Master Wei, don't be impatient. These people swore an oath of the heart demon. How can they lie? It turns out that the key to enter the Chu clan's forbidden area has been obtained by you. I was wondering why the Chu clan's virtuous niece was still tightly holding onto the necklace when she was beaten up like that in the photo stone. It turns out. Chu Xiang curled the corner of her mouth. An oath of the heart demon wasn't a lie. There were many loopholes that could be exploited. For example, the jade gourd was the key to enter the Chu clan's forbidden area. No one knew about this, and the servants naturally didn't know at the time. However, during this period, Chu Xiang had people inadvertently leak this information to him. When he found out, he naturally mentioned it. But this wasn't a lie, because the jade gourd was indeed the key to enter the Chu clan's forbidden area. Her words were skillful. Everyone who heard it mistakenly thought that Zhou Xinlian snatched the jade gourd to enter the forbidden area. This was very consistent with her motive of beating up Chu Xiang and snatching the jade gourd. Master Wei took a deep breath and said coldly, even if Zhou Xinlian really knows the use of the jade gourd, she can tell from the photo stone that my son definitely doesn't know. Zhou Xinlian also explained to my son that she snatched it because Chu Xiang's attitude wasn't good. So everyone shouldn't misunderstand the Wei clan. Chu Xiang smiled again. There's no hurry. Let's wait for them to finish. Don't tell me Master Wei doesn't even have this bit of patience? Master Wei stared at her coldly, but Chu Xiang didn't care at all. She signaled for the witnesses to continue. Wei San and Wei Si were originally in charge of guarding the storehouse. They had always been Wei Lingxiao's personal bodyguards, so they knew more things. As soon as they opened their mouths, they exposed how Wei Lingxiao and Zhou Xinlian avoided people, and which courtyard in the imperial city they met in. After the Chu couple died, Wei Lingxiao asked Zhou Xinlian about the forbidden area and the storehouse. At that time, they were considered Wei Lingxiao's confidants, so Zhou Xinlian didn't avoid them. She wanted to use those things as her dowry so that her status would be more worthy of Wei Lingxiao, and she could be the young madam of the Wei clan with a straight back. After that, Zhou Xinlian sent Chu Xiang to a servant's room, and ordered people to take away Chu Xiang's Taoist robes and other things and move them directly into Chu Xiang's courtyard. After that, she began to plunder all of the Chu clan's finances. She didn't let go of a single thing and piled it all in the storehouse. There were a few times when Wei Lingxiao happened to be in the residence and went to take a look with her. Wei Lingxiao's focus was on the Chu couple's courtyard. He checked their bedroom and studied 3 times before stopping. Wei Lingxiao had also privately ordered the two of them to record what was in the storehouse, and whether Zhou Xinlian had taken anything important or precious. Later, the two of them were woken up from their coma, and found that the Chu clan was collapsing. Everything in the storehouse was gone. At the time, Wei Lingxiao and Zhou Xinlian had reprimanded them, but they had been unconscious for the entire afternoon. If Wei Lingxiao had taken anything from the storehouse, they wouldn't have known. The servants guarding the door were at the place where the Chu clan had collapsed. There was no suspicious person at the door. The servants walking around the courtyard didn't see anything unusual. Wei Lingxiao was still happily in Zhou Xinlian's room the moment before the collapse. Most importantly, they were later captured by the Wei clan and tortured. Many of them died. They were rescued by the puppets and luckily survived, but they didn't dare to appear in front of others. Today, they only wanted to expose the Wei clan's true colors. If the Wei clan treated them like this, what else could it be other than silencing them? The last question wasn't a lie. After all, they really wanted to ask if the Wei clan had silenced them. They also really guessed that the Wei clan had instructed Zhou Xinlian to kill the Chu couple and take away the Chu clan's things. They were all guesses. How could guesses be taken seriously? It was just a question, so of course, it didn't violate the heart demon oath because they weren't sure. They didn't lie to frame the Wei clan. Everything was just their guess. But it didn't sound like this to everyone. As they listened, they naturally guessed the same thing. Combined with everything that had happened before and after the Chu couple's death, wasn't the marriage between the Wei clan and the Chu clan for those treasures and spirit veins? Later, perhaps they didn't want to marry a good-for-nothing back, nor did they want to wait for the Chu couple to die naturally, so they simply killed them and swallowed the Chu clan directly. Chu Xiang smiled and said, I heard that Wei Lingxiao is going to the Luo continent this year? A meal in the Luo continent is 10 times more expensive than here. If you want to live comfortably, you have to have spirit stones and magic weapons. Could this be the reason why Wei Lingxiao can't wait? The Wei clan master snorted. Everything is just speculation. How can you take it seriously? Don't put the blame on my son. Chu Xiang smiled and didn't say anything, but everyone felt that she was right. Wei Lingxiao was going to the Luo continent. Even if he married Chu Xiang and got a lot of things, it would only be a part of the Chu clan. How could it be as satisfying as swallowing the entire Chu clan? If he took the entire Chu clan's wealth to the Luo continent, he would definitely be able to enjoy life. Even if he entered a big sect and socialized with others, he would have enough confidence. Not only did others think so, even the people of the Wei clan's branch began to show doubts. The clan master had always told them that the Wei clan didn't touch the Chu clan's treasures. But what if the clan master hid the Chu clan's treasures and gave them to Wei Lingxiao to the Luo continent? This wasn't impossible. Chapter 293. The higher a person's position, the more suspicious they were. The people present today were all people of status and prestige, so they naturally thought more about it. Although these witnesses didn't see anything with their own eyes, what they pieced together was enough. Sometimes in their upper-class circle, it was common to not find evidence. After all, everyone had some means. How could they not clean up after doing something dirty? How could it be so easy to find out? Therefore, sometimes, evidence was secondary. What everyone believed to be the truth was the truth. Just like now, with all the foreshadowing during this period of time, coupled with today's testimony, almost everyone believed that the Chu clan was destroyed by the Wei clan. As for Zhou Xinlian, she was an orphan girl with no backing. How could she destroy her own backing? Unless the Wei clan gave her a better promise, such as marrying her and letting her and Wei Lingxiao go to the Luo continent to live a good life. One had to know that the daughter of the Chu clan was immortal. The Chu clan master and his wife didn't want her to go to the Luo continent. If Wei Lingxiao married Chu Xiang, he would have to live in the South Shore continent for a few decades. He could only go to the Luo continent after Chu Xiang died. Looking at Wei Lingxiao's arrogant appearance, perhaps he wasn't willing to wait? The scene was a little chaotic. The nascent soul ancestor slammed the armrest of his chair. Everyone present felt the pressure of a nascent soul cultivator, and was immediately dissatisfied. Was he using his cultivation to bully all of them? However, a nascent soul cultivator was a nascent soul cultivator. No matter how dissatisfied they were, they couldn't confront him directly. They more or less restrained themselves and quieted down. The ones who were least affected were probably Chu Xiang and the people around her. This was because when the nascent soul stage patriarch made his move, she took out a disc array and directly isolated the few of them. They could not feel the pressure of the nascent soul stage patriarch at all. Chu Xiang was still in a good mood and smiled. Everyone, don't be anxious. I still have an important witness here. Wei Clan Master and Wei Clan Master, don't be in a hurry to silence her. Otherwise it will be too embarrassing. Without waiting for them to speak, Chu Xiang clapped her hands again. 2 wooden puppets carried Zhou Xinlian in. Everyone was a little surprised. After the 2 puppets put her down, they stood in front of her as if they were afraid that the Wei clan would kill them to silence them. This made the Wei clan's patriarch and Patriarch Wei's expressions turn even uglier. They wanted to fight directly, but they had gathered everyone here to wash away the Wei clan's stain, not to ruin their reputation. They didn't want to shed all pretense of cordiality before things reached the final stage. Otherwise, how could the Wei clan establish itself? Even if they had a nascent soul ancestor, it would be unwise to make an enemy out of all the clans on the south bank. Zhou Xinlian coughed a few times and spat out a mouthful of blood. She struggled to get up, her eyes filled with crazed hatred. Wei clan. Old fart and Wei Lingxiao, you heartless bastard. I've done so much for him, and he actually wants to kill me to silence me. Since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Wei Lingxiao told me a long time ago that he was very tired of Chu Xiang, that trash. Even if his grandfather forced him, he was unwilling to get engaged. It was the Wei clan head and Madame Wei. Heh, it was you who persuaded him to get engaged, telling him that as long as he endured for a few decades, he would be able to obtain the entire Wei clan. Am I right? The Wei clan head suddenly stood up and raised his hand to attack her. Although the others saw it, they frowned and didn't move in the presence of the nascent soul ancestor. Chu Xiang, however, didn't have any scruples. She threw out a defensive Dharma artifact, directly nullifying the Wei clan head's attack. Zhou Xinlian shrank back in fear, but then she coughed a few times. Her broken ribs hurt so much that she couldn't breathe. She was filled with hatred again. Since she couldn't live, then they wouldn't have an easy time either. Zhou Xinlian shouted out all the words that Wei Lingxiao had once said. Wei Lingxiao was still young, only 20 years old. He had been pampered to the point of being arrogant. Back then he had been quite sincere to Zhou Xinlian, and had said a lot of things that he shouldn't have said in private, including the Wei clan's scheme to monopolize the Chu clan's spirit vein. When the Wei clan had reprimanded him, he even said that if he didn't like Chu Xiang, he could go into seclusion as soon as he married her. In any case, the Chu couple couldn't find fault with him going into seclusion for cultivation. At that time, Chu Xiang wouldn't be doted on by her husband. Naturally, she would be depressed and her lifespan would be shorter. Perhaps she would die in 10 or 20 years. Also, Madame Wei had once asked Wei Lingxiao to treat Chu Xiang better. Chu Xiang admired him, so she would naturally give him many good Dharma artifacts. She even asked him to keep any good things for himself, and to use them in the Luo continent. Wasn't this guarding against the other members of the Wei clan? She was too selfish. Zhou Xinlian's words were all true, but there were only a few words of complaint from Wei Lingxiao. When she said it, it magnified the selfishness of the Wei clan head and Madame Wei, and also made Wei Lingxiao seem like a shameful person. Someone asked, Zhou Xinlian, do you dare to swear an oath of the inner demon to prove that what you said is true? Zhou Xinlian felt dizzy and her body became weaker and weaker. It seemed that she was really going to die. She thought of the day when she escaped back to the imperial city to beg Wei Lingxiao, but Wei Lingxiao disliked her disfigured face and sent her away. She smiled coldly and immediately swore an oath of the inner demon. Everyone was in an uproar. Even the clan heads present couldn't help it. The Wei clan was too much. They hid the truth and destroyed the Chu clan. Today they even asked them to clear their name. To be honest, if it weren't for the girl called Lin Mu bringing so many witnesses, they might really be convinced by the Wei clan head. But with so many witnesses, including Zhou Xinlian, willing to swear an oath of the inner demon, it was the Wei clan head who didn't dare to swear. Wasn't it clear who was right and who was wrong? Someone asked again. Zhou Xinlian, who killed the Chu clan head and his wife. This was Zhou Xinlian's own fault, but how could she admit it? She slowly raised her head and looked at the Wei clan head. She didn't say anything, but in the eyes of everyone, it was as if she was accusing the Wei clan head. Previously, they had already guessed that the Wei clan had instructed Zhou Xinlian to kill the Chu clan head and his wife. Now Zhou Xinlian's actions seemed to confirm their guess. Zhou Xinlian was very good at reading people's expressions. Seeing the crowd's reaction, she was quite happy. She had already heard Wei San, Wei Si, and Wei Lingxiao asking them to watch the storeroom and report what she had taken from the storeroom. Those things should have been hers. She was the only one who had taken them. She was willing to give them to Wei Lingxiao, but Wei Lingxiao had been guarding against her that day. He regarded those things as his own, and could still get along with her sweetly. This man was really a hypocrite. However, after today, Wei Lingxiao and the Wei clan would not have an easy time. The Wei clan had ordered Zhou Xinlian to speak, but Zhou Xinlian just stared at him. The Wei clan head was so angry that he waved his palm. In fact, he didn't want to kill Zhou Xinlian. Previously, he and the nascent soul ancestors had all been blocked by Chu Xiang's magic weapon. At this time, he was just venting his anger and showing his attitude. Who knew that this time, Chu Xiang didn't block for Zhou Xinlian? The Wei clan head's palm fell on Zhou Xinlian's body fiercely. Zhou Xinlian immediately lost her breath and flew out like a kite with a broken string. The Wei clan head was startled and immediately reacted. Capture her soul for me. You can't let her die like this. Chu Xiang narrowed her eyes and snorted. Wei clan head, are you angry because you've been exposed? Not only did you kill someone, but you also want her soul to scatter? Don't forget. She made a heart demon oath. Today, the matter of the Chu clan's extermination has finally come to an end. Your Wei clan can't quibble and get away with it. She stood up and walked into the field to face the Wei clan head. Why don't we settle the score? Everyone stood up, because from Chu Xiang's posture, it was obvious that she was going to start a fight. They didn't expect things to develop to this point. Fighting with the nascent soul ancestors of the Wei clan? Wei Lingxiao couldn't hide anymore. He walked out and said, Lin Mu, you are too meddlesome. Today's matter hasn't been investigated clearly. The Chu clan's matter has nothing to do with my Wei clan. No matter what the Chu clan's matter is, it has nothing to do with you. Chu Xiang smiled and clapped. The Wei clan is really powerful. There are so many testimonies on the surface, but you still insist on quibbling. Then, you don't care about the Chu clan's matter. Why did you call so many of us here today? To watch your Wei clan perform a play? Arrogant child. The nascent soul ancestor scolded and slapped out. Chu Xiang took out a treasured sword that was engraved with array formations and slashed fiercely, splitting the palm print in the air into two. The nascent soul ancestor stood up. Chu Xiang also stopped smiling for the first time. She pulled out the jade hairpin in her hair and revealed her true appearance. Why should I settle the score with the Wei clan? That's because I am the only descendant of the Chu clan. Today, everyone is my witness. I must avenge the extermination of my clan. The scene suddenly became chaotic. Even Jin Jun, He Yunfei, and the others were shocked. They never thought that the figure and appearance of Lin Mu were fake. The seemingly ordinary jade hairpin was actually an immortal-grade magic tool. She was actually Chu Xiang, who everyone thought had died. Thinking of this, it seemed that everything could be explained. Why did Lin Mu appear when the Chu clan was gone? Why did Lin Mu speak so bluntly to the Wei clan, Zhou Xinlian, and even the Zhou clan? Why did Lin Mu have no cultivation and only use spirit stones to activate magic tools? Why was Lin Mu so persistent to investigate the truth of the Chu clan's extermination at the risk of being the enemy of the entire Wei clan? It turned out that Lin Mu was Chu Xiang, and Chu Xiang was Lin Mu. These two words were clearly taken from Chu Xiang's name. None of them thought of it. Many people thought at this moment that the rumors were misleading. Who said that Chu Xiang was a waste? A waste could seriously injure Wei Lingxiao? Could she be so knowledgeable and talented? But at the same time they were puzzled. Since Chu Xiang was so outstanding, why had they never heard of her before? Also, since Chu Xiang was not dead, why did she pretend to be Lin Mu? Was the hermit family real or not? Where did Chu Xiang get so many good things? Wei Lingxiao was the first to recover from the shock. He angrily rebuked Chu Xiang. You framed everything. That day, You perished together in the photostone. As a result, you went to Sea City and changed your identity to spread rumors. All of this was a trap set by you. Chu Xiang's face darkened. A trap. Just now those people, including Zhou Xinlian, all swore an oath. Zhou Xinlian killed my parents, bullied me, and humiliated me. Do you think she would help me frame you? She didn't have any hope at the last moment, so she told you everything. I hid my identity for today, to expose your true colors in public. Otherwise, how could I know the truth when I confronted you that day? Everyone thought about it and agreed. At that time, even if they all knew that Wei Lingxiao betrayed Chu Xiang, Zhou Xinlian and those servants would not testify like today. Everyone might not believe Chu Xiang's one-sided story. Patriarch Wei immediately thought of the Chu clan's treasures. He sized her up and said, "You are so scheming at such a young age. Since you faked your death, you must have taken the Chu clan's treasures that couldn't be found anywhere, right? Otherwise, how could you have so many magic weapons? What a vicious woman, to spread rumors that my Wei clan took over the Chu clan." Chu Xiang sneered and touched the sword in her hand. "This was made for me by Jin Zhen 3 days ago. Many people have seen the magic weapons I used. Was it made by Jin Zhen? I think so. I remember a magic weapon fell in front of me when it broke. It had the symbol of Master Jin. I also remembering. Of course, Chu Xiang couldn't have made all of her magic weapons by Jin Zhen, but after she met Jin Zhen, she only used the magic weapons made by Jin Zhen. Several people saw the symbol and naturally created the illusion that all of her magic weapons were made by Jin Zhen. Jin Zhen was probably the only one present who knew that he didn't make so many, but of course he wouldn't expose her. He even nodded and admitted it directly. Chu Xiang sneered. "Even if my spirit root can't cultivate, I'm not like the trash of your Wei clan who only knows how to covet other people's treasures. I've been studying alchemy, refining weapons, talismans, formations and so on since childhood. I can easily exchange for what I want. Where are my Chu clan's treasures? I want Wei clan's head to solve my doubts." Nonsense. If that's the case, why haven't you been famous for so many years? My Wei clan has been married to your clan for 3 years, but I've never heard of you having such ability. Wei clan's head stared at Chu Xiang, not letting go of her expression. Chu Xiang said matter-of-factly, "Of course, it's to guard against cruel and unscrupulous people. I didn't expect that it's hard to guard against thieves. The girl that my parents raised for 10 years actually listened to the orders of the Wei clan." She looked at everyone and said generously, "I wanted to endure for a while and find out the cause of my parents' death. Unexpectedly, Wei Lingxiao and Zhou Xinlian went too far. I didn't pay attention and my ribs were broken. I almost lost my life and even lost my jade gourd to enter the forbidden area. At that time, I had nothing and no cultivation, so I couldn't escape. I wanted to perish together with them, which could barely be considered as revenge. Unexpectedly, after I activated the formation, I suddenly entered a secret room. It was the rockery in my parents' courtyard. I never knew there was a secret room there. Unfortunately, 3 of my ribs were broken, and I forced myself to activate the formation. As soon as I entered the secret room, I fainted. When I woke up, I found that all the treasures in my clan had disappeared. The Wei clan and Zhou Xinlian were still fine. Even many cultivators were appeased by the Wei clan. Fortunately, I found the spiritual marrow to cleanse my bones and heal my broken ribs. I also found a jade hairpin to hide my appearance. In any case, I escaped. Perhaps my parents' spirits protected me from the pain of cleansing my bones and marrow, allowing me to use magic tools to fight. Step by step, I found out the truth. How can I not take revenge for such a great hatred? Chu Xiang's voice was very infectious. Everyone was moved by her. Thinking about the image-retaining stone, Chu Xiang was beaten to death. That was true. They could also see that Chu Xiang's ribs were broken. Cleansing one's bones wasn't something that ordinary people could bear. Many cultivators couldn't bear it and died because of it. Chu Xiang was immortal. It was easy to imagine how painful it would be to bear the pain of cleansing one's bones, and how strong her willpower was. If she didn't want to take revenge for her parents, how could she have persevered? Everyone was no longer puzzled by her big change. After cleansing her bones, her original weakness was cured. Naturally, she had the strength to use magic tools to fight. In addition, she had a blood feud. It was normal for her temperament to change greatly. It was already considered good that Chu Xiang didn't turn into a demon. Wei Lingxiao thought of something and suddenly said, "That image-retaining stone was in the forbidden area. How do you explain that? You lost the jade gourd." Chu Xiang sneered. "Don't think of ways to slander me. What forbidden area? I clearly placed the image-retaining stone on the ground when I activated the formation. It was far from the forbidden area." "Impossible. Ancestor and I both found the image-retaining stone. It was in the forbidden area. You think too highly of me. I only have 3 broken ribs, and I don't have any cultivation. How could I avoid all of you and run so far away?" The image-retaining stone was beside the formation core. Suddenly someone said, "Since Miss Chu went from the formation core to the secret room, there must be a transportation formation there. Maybe the transportation formation sent the image-retaining stone to the forbidden area and sent Miss Chu to the secret room." This theory received the approval of many people. There were all kinds of excuses to explain this kind of detail. The main thing was that the matter had developed to this point. Everyone was certain that the Wei clan had murdered the Chu couple and embezzled the Chu clan's treasures. No matter how they looked at it, Chu Xiang was more realistic. The jade gourd was with Zhou Xinlian. Could Chu Xiang steal it without alerting them? It was obviously impossible. After Chu Xiang escaped, she concealed her identity and went into hiding. It was not until she saved He Yunfei and received the support of He Feng and Jin Zhen that she began to investigate the Chu clan and target the Wei clan and Zhou Xinlian. All of this was traceable and consistent with Chu Xiang's facts. On the other hand, the Wei clan had not said anything useful or provided any useful evidence. Wei Lingxiao said angrily, "Do you dare to make a heart demon oath?" The Wei clan was certain that Chu Xiang did not dare, but Chu Xiang did not hesitate to swear. The only descendant of the Chu clan, Chu Xiang, swears that if there is any falsehood in what I said today, I will die on the spot. Since Chu Xiang could think of the heart demon oath, of course she would not let herself be fooled. The only descendant of the Chu clan was already dead. There was no such thing as what you said today or death on the spot. However, this oath was enough to make everyone stand on her side and confirm that the Chu clan's treasures had really been embezzled by the Wei clan. The Wei clan head saw that the situation was one-sided and knew that the Wei clan could not wash away the stain. Since that was the case, he would kill Chu Xiang as a deterrent. He couldn't let the Wei clan bow and admit defeat, right? He winked at his clan members and took the lead to attack. He also said to the others, "This is a matter between the Wei clan and the Chu clan's arrogant Wang heir. Don't interfere." Chu Xiang sneered, "You're courting death." The spirit stone under Chu Xiang's feet flashed, and she flew into the air like a cultivator and waved the sword in her hand. Chu Xiang's sword had its own mysterious sword technique. Not only did it block the Wei clan head's attack, it could also attack him back. Only then did everyone understand that this sword had surpassed the level of a high-grade magic weapon. It was probably an immortal-grade magic weapon. They could not understand the complicated array engraved on the sword, but they could see that this sword was newly refined. Chu Xiang also saw that this sword was refined by Jin Zhen a few days ago. Someone asked Jin Zhen, "Master Jin can already refine an immortal-grade magic weapon?" Jin Zhen smiled. "No, Miss Chu borrowed my hand to refine this magic weapon. The array engraved on it was also carved by her. She is the real talent in refining magic weapons. I am far inferior in this aspect." Jin Zhen was far inferior to Chu Xiang, and that immortal-grade magic weapon was actually refined by Chu Xiang herself. Everyone was shocked. Someone who could refine an immortal-grade magic weapon. Even if someone wanted to kill her, they had to protect her. If they could not form a good relationship with her, they could still get some benefits in the future. Moreover, the Wei clan was unreasonable. They were purely standing on the side of justice by helping Chu Xiang. Jin Zhen, He Feng, and the others had already faced the nascent soul ancestor. The other clan heads also joined the battle. Wei Lingxiao's expression was dark as he rushed towards Chu Xiang with his magic weapon. He still remembered the humiliation in the Blue Shark Cave. Today he must take revenge for that humiliation. The Wei clan head and Wei Lingxiao were of one mind and had a tacit understanding. However, they were completely unable to break through Chu Xiang's defensive barrier. Chu Xiang's magic robes, hairpins, and everything else on her body were high-grade defensive magic weapons. The effect of stacking with each other was that she could ignore all attacks. Of course, this was also because the father and son were only at the Golden Core and Foundation establishment level. If they were to face a soul formation expert, Chu Xiang's body would not be enough. Chu Xiang had magic weapons to protect her, so she could only attack and not defend. Her own weakness was that her physical strength was exhausted too quickly. She often had to use spirit replenishing pills to replenish her energy, so she had to end the battle quickly to equip herself like this. Her treasured sword was specially refined to deal with the Wei clan's Rao and counter their unique skills. Not long after, she slashed her sword on Wei Lingxiao's shoulder and ruthlessly chopped off one of his arms. "A Lingxiao!" Wei Lingxiao's scream and the Wei clan head's anxious shout sounded at the same time. Seeing this, the others' hearts jumped. It seemed that today would not end until one of them died. The Wei clan's ancestor's eyes were red. He was already extremely angry. "You dare! Hand over your life!" The Wei clan's ancestor fiercely pushed back Jin Jun and the others, then quickly attacked Chu Xiang. "Come on!" Chu Xiang met him without dodging. Her treasured sword danced in front of her airtight. When she was close enough, she suddenly threw out a round ball. The Wei clan's ancestor ruthlessly smashed it. After the round ball exploded, it scattered a handful of powder, which just happened to fall on the Wei clan's ancestor's face. "What is this?" The Wei clan's ancestor wiped his face, suddenly feeling uncomfortable. Chu Xiang coldly snorted, raised her sword, and ruthlessly stabbed forward. "Of course it's something to kill you." The Wei clan's ancestor quickly dodged. Interestingly, he felt the spiritual energy in his body diminish. Knowing that it was poisonous powder, he turned pale with fright. Although he was a nascent soul cultivator, deep in his bones he disliked danger and struggle. That was why he was willing to stay in the South Shore continent and enjoy the treatment of the first circle. Now that he discovered that Chu Xiang was rather evil and had many tricks up her sleeves, he was actually poisoned by the powder. He wanted to quickly leave and plan his next move after the poison was cured. But how could Chu Xiang let him go? She immediately threw out a formation disc to activate it, trapping her and the Wei clan's ancestor in the formation. The Wei clan's ancestor angrily said, "You're really courting death. Do you really think that you can fight a nascent soul cultivator just because you know some carving and insect techniques?" Chu Xiang laughed. "Whether I can or not, you'll only know after you try. Today, I'll let the whole cultivation world know that the Wei clan is full of trash." Not only was Chu Xiang not afraid, she even added a layer of defensive armor in the blink of an eye and flew out to attack. When Chu Xiang's defense was strong enough, and the offensive power of her magic tool was also strong enough, who could match her battle techniques? The Wei clan's ancestor, who was greedy for pleasure and neglected battle, was moving in slow motion in front of her. Outside the formation, the people gradually stopped fighting, and all of them focused on the battle between Chu Xiang and the Wei clan's ancestor. Jin Jun and the rest were a little worried, but the Wei clan's people were delighted to see the ancestor intimidate everyone. This battle was beyond everyone's expectations, and Chu Xiang's ability to not be at a disadvantage against a nascent soul cultivator was even more beyond their expectations. Gradually, they discovered that Chu Xiang actually had the upper hand, and then Chu Xiang won. The Wei clan's patriarch's expression had long changed, and he led the Wei clan's people to attack the formation, berating sternly. However, Chu Xiang still crushed the Wei clan's ancestor's nascent soul with a sword when he revealed a flaw. Then, she threw out several talismans, directly shattering the Wei clan's ancestor's dantian. The Wei clan's ancestor fell from midair, and Chu Xiang took advantage of the opportunity to put away the formation disc, turned around, and stabbed Wei Lingxiao's heart with her sword. The Wei clan's people were all breaking the formation, and no one was prepared for this move. Chu Xiang's attack succeeded, and Wei Lingxiao died on the spot. The genius that the Wei clan had placed high hopes on. the #1 young master of the South Shore continent, died with his eyes wide open. The last words he heard were Chu Xiang standing in front of him. "You are the Wei clan's sinner." In that instant, Wei Lingxiao was filled with endless regret. Why did he provoke Chu Xiang? Why didn't he marry Chu Xiang? Why did he bully Chu Xiang with Zhou Xinlian? However, he would never have the chance to regret. He was stabbed by Chu Xiang's magic weapon, and even the immortals couldn't save him. Lingxiao, the Wei clan's patriarch, pounced on Chu Xiang, but was stopped by Jin Zhen. Then Chu Xiang stopped attacking. In the midst of the chaotic battlefield, she sat back on her soft chair, panting as she ate a few high-grade restorative spirit pills. "I'm so tired, I'm so tired." She caught her breath before continuing. "Thank you all for helping me today. However, the Wei clan's people hold grudges, and I'm afraid they'll make trouble for you all in the future. I don't know if you all have any enmity with the Wei clan. Why don't you take advantage of everyone's presence to take revenge?" Her words were very clear. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. If they gave the Wei clan a chance to recuperate, then all of them would become the Wei clan's enemies. Who could guarantee that their own clans would be able to defend themselves against the Wei clan? Just look at what happened to the Chu clan. The Wei clan was definitely the most vicious clan in the South Shore continent. When it came to benefits and safety, words were always more effective than any words. Even the things Chu Xiang had done before were only because they were concerned about the whereabouts of the Chu clan's treasures, and wanted a share of the profits. That was why they gave Chu Xiang so much room to maneuver. When everyone heard her words, many of them began to oppose the Wei clan. If you didn't kill the snake, it would only harm you. Even if the Wei clan didn't seek revenge in the future, some of them really did have enmity with the Wei clan. They would take revenge for revenge. After a great battle, all of Wei Lingxiao's direct relatives had fallen. Chu Xiang raised her eyebrows. This wasn't her doing. Who told the Wei clan to offend so many people? They relied on their nascent soul ancestor to bully others. This was called the evils they brought upon themselves. The smell of blood at the scene was really unpleasant. Chu Xiang wrinkled her nose in disgust, then called Jin Zhen and the others to leave. The Chu clan was gone, and there was no place for them to stay in the Imperial City, so they simply returned to Ocean City. Some people wanted to pay Chu Xiang a visit, but Chu Xiang directly closed the door and refused them. When she was free, she would guide He Yunfei and the others in their cultivation, or refine tools with Jin Zhen. When she was bored, they would go to the Blue Sea region and the 100 Beasts Forest to play. They would bring back good things to refine defensive magic tools. Chu Xiang had also refined her wooden puppet to an even higher level. Whenever she went out, she would bring the puppet with her as if it was her bodyguard. It wouldn't betray her, and it could help her do many things. During that battle, the Wei clan ancestor hadn't been able to intimidate everyone. Instead, it was Chu Xiang who had killed the Wei clan ancestor with her own strength that had intimidated everyone. Even if they had some doubts, no one would be so blind as to confront Chu Xiang. After all, the general direction wasn't wrong. After the heart demon oaths were made, everyone knew that the Wei clan was a criminal, so there was no need to delve into the details. There was also the Chu clan's treasure. Since Chu Xiang wasn't dead, it didn't matter if they found the treasure or not. It was pointless to think about it. If it was an ordinary orphan girl, they could marry her or directly seize the treasure. But Chu Xiang? The Wei clan's fate was obvious. No one dared to have any ideas about her. The cultivation world was essentially a place where the strong preyed on the weak. When Chu Xiang's strength far exceeded theirs, as long as Chu Xiang didn't make any obvious mistakes, they didn't dare to have any ill intentions towards her, or gather together to deal with her. Therefore, Chu Xiang's life was very comfortable now. She had become the most famous person in the entire South Shore continent, and the most worshipped by the younger generation. Now that her enemies were gone and all the grudges had been settled, Chu Xiang showed her true face. Many people were focused on the battle that day and didn't pay much attention to Chu Xiang's appearance. Now that they did, they found that she was much more beautiful than the tragic appearance in the photographic stone. Many female cultivators would be respectfully called fairies, but not all of them were good-looking. As for Chu Xiang, Although everyone knew that she relied on skills and magic tools to fight, and couldn't be considered a cultivator, they were still willing to call her Fairy Lin Mu. She really was like a fairy who had unintentionally fallen into the mortal world. Otherwise, how could she have so much knowledge at such a young age? How could she have unparalleled gifts? Maybe she was a fairy who had descended to the mortal world to gain experience. And that was why she had experienced all these hardships. Chu Xiang didn't care what they called her. They were more used to the name Lin Mu, and she didn't care. Anyway, many people had Taoist names. Her Taoist name might as well be Lin Mu. Several months later, when Luo Dalu came to choose his disciples, Chu Xiang's name was already known by everyone. Although it was best for Luo Dalu to choose his disciples when they were in the foundation establishment stage, it was mainly for the convenience of selecting talents. If there was an obvious talent in front of them, they naturally wouldn't miss it. Chu Xiang was now famous in the South Shore continent. Who would dare to say that she wasn't a talent? Just her rich knowledge of alchemy and magic tool refining was enough for Luo Dalu's people to take her. Not to mention, she was also very considerate. She gave several high-grade magic tools to the cultivators who came to choose her disciples. Money makes the world go round. This wasn't a difficult task, so naturally it went smoothly. Some people wondered if the Chu clan's forbidden area could be opened after Chu Xiang left. Chu Xiang expressed that she was powerless. The jade gourd had already been lost, so she couldn't do anything about it. As a result, everyone could only watch as Chu Xiang and Jin Zhen's group left. Then they brainstormed on how to open the Chu clan's forbidden area. The remaining members of the Wei clan didn't have it any better. They were often interrogated or angered. When Chu Xiang gave the gifts, she asked the other party to make an exception and bring Ling Dong along, so that Ling Hongzhu and her son could leave the South Shore continent. After He Yunfei's body recovered, his cultivation level improved rapidly. He successfully established his foundation before Luo Dalu's people arrived. Old Master Luo barely managed to establish his foundation with the help of various medicinal pills. He even became much younger, looking only 40 years old. Chu Xiang brought them to a new environment. They were all amazed. As for Chu Xianglai, it was like returning to the world of cultivation that she was familiar with. There were countless experts, spiritual plants, and demonic beasts everywhere. Flying underground was a common sight. It was like going from a village to a capital city. It was true that Jin Zhen and the Jin clan had relatives in the Luo Dalu continent. Jin Zhen's uncle had cultivated to the late nascent soul stage, and was an elder of the profound sect, the #1 sect. Naturally, they first sought refuge with Elder Jin and settled down. However, when Jin Zhen asked them if they wanted to join a sect, Chu Xiang said, "Instead of joining another sect and being bound by the rules, why don't we establish our own sect and set our own rules?" They were all well-known figures in the South Shore continent. None of the people that Chu Xiang had chosen were bad. They all agreed with her idea and were very excited to put it into action. The cultivation techniques in Chu Xiang's mind, as well as the endless cultivation knowledge, were their greatest wealth. There was also an ore vein in Chu Xiang's space. That ore vein had been used to feed the Chu clan for several generations, but it had not been used much. To feed the few of them, it really felt like an inexhaustible supply. Of course, Chu Xiang could only live for 100 years at most. When she left, she couldn't take anything from this world with her. Therefore, she didn't know what frugality was. She wantonly squandered the spirit stones, magic weapons in her space. She equipped them with invulnerable weapons and powerful weapons. Each of them could challenge opponents above their level. They became the most eye-catching group of dark horses in the Luo Dalu continent. It wasn't that no one wanted to teach them a lesson and steal their magic weapons, but they were always taught a lesson by Chu Xiang and the others. It was common for them to fail in robbing people and be robbed instead. After a long time, the people of the Luo Dalu continent also knew that they were tough and not to be trifled with. Chu Xiang and the others were upright and didn't engage in crooked practices. Even if the elders of the major sects could deal with them, they wouldn't do it without a reason. The Luo Dalu continent was big enough to accommodate them. There was no need to suppress them since they didn't have any grievances. Therefore, the people of the Luodalu continent watched them gradually become famous. They started from nothing and really established a sect. After Chu Xiang accepted 3 good-looking disciples, Jin Zhen and the others spontaneously added their appearance into the entrance examination. Chu Xiang was very innocent. She was really lucky. Who asked her to pick people who were quite good-looking? She really didn't mean to look at their faces. But Jin Zhen and the others were already used to it. Unknowingly, the disciples recruited by the sect became more and more good-looking. They became a beautiful scenery in the Luodalu continent. As the head of the sect, Chu Xiang made the sect blossom. Whoever had the ability to learn would learn. There were sword cultivators, Buddhist cultivators, medical cultivators, alchemists, refiners, talisman masters, array masters, and so on. The disciples were guided by her and taught by her the most suitable cultivation method. Their sect grew at an incredible speed. By the time the other sects realized that they should pay more attention to them, their strength was already unimaginable. No one could treat them as a sect anymore. There were even many cultivators who wanted to join their sect. After all, it was rare to find a sect that could learn real skills, advance quickly, and unite against outsiders. The sect was on the right track. They didn't need to rely on Chu Xiang's spiritual vein anymore. The magic tools, pills, array discs, and talismans made by the disciples could be sold for money or exchanged for the resources they needed. Occasionally, when the disciples needed to train, they would go to the secret realm together and bring back many good things. Gradually, the sect became rich and full of vitality. It occupied an important position in the Luodalu continent. 100 years was neither long nor short. For the cultivation world, it was just a snap of the fingers. Chu Xiang lived happily in this familiar world. She was surrounded by considerate and reliable companions. She also maintained the appearance of an 18-year-old fairy. She didn't feel uncomfortable eating pills her whole life. By the time her lifespan was up and she was ready to leave, she had so many disciples that she couldn't even kneel in front of the sect head. Chu Xiang finally smiled at Jin Zhen and the others. She closed her eyes and happily went to the next world. From a devil's witch to a sect head, she taught so many outstanding disciples. She let them set off a storm in the cultivation world that only belonged to her. It seemed that she didn't live in vain in this life. Chapter 294. Chu Xiang happily left the cultivation world and arrived at a new place in a flash. She opened her eyes and saw a woman with a worried face. The woman saw that she was awake and immediately smiled. She asked softly, "Xiang Xiang, are you better? Where do you feel uncomfortable?" Chu Xiang shook her head. "I'm much better." "Good, good. Mom just asked your brother to borrow a handcart. If you didn't wake up, I would have sent you to the hospital. Okay, lie down. Mom will make some noodles for you." The woman quickly walked out, but closed the door very softly, as if to disturb her rest. Chu Xiang raised her hand and touched her burning forehead. She took out a syringe from the space and gave herself a fever reduction injection. Then she silently looked at the room of the original owner. The adobe house had narrow windows and doors, low beams, and even the ground was uneven. Chu Xiang estimated that the room was about 6 square meters. A single wooden bed, a table and a red lacquered wooden box were almost full. It was really shabby. But from the memory of the original owner, this was a village in 1967, so this was not bad. Once again, Chu Xiang was very calm. No matter how poor the environment was, there was food, land, animals in her space, and she could go into sleep. Life must be comfortable. She heard someone whispering outside. It seemed that someone was making 2 poached eggs for her. Chu Xiang closed her eyes and silently merged with the memory of the original owner. This was the Chu village. Now it was renamed to the Dawn Brigade. The village chief was also changed to the captain. Everyone worked together to earn work points, and then shared the food. The father of the original owner died early. Her mother, Lu Fang, raised her and her brother alone. In order to protect her children, she became fierce. In these years, she was famous in the brigade for being fierce. No one dared to provoke her. But Lu Fang was not an unreasonable person. If others did not provoke her, she would not look for trouble. She would not take advantage of others, so she was very popular in the brigade. Lu Fang gave all her love to her children. Naturally, she hoped that they would be well. She was kinder to them than other mothers, especially the original host. Back then, Father Chu spent all the money in the family to treat his illness. Lu Fang lost her husband and had no money. She was in pain and helpless. But when the 3-year-old original owner was playing in the backyard, she dug out a gold ring from a corner of the ground. Lu Fang secretly sold the gold ring to help her family through the most difficult time. She really liked the original owner. Moreover, the original owner was prettier than others. She was delicate and soft, and especially cared about others. No matter how tired Lu Fang was, as long as she looked at her daughter, she would not be tired at all. She simply treated her daughter like a pearl in her palm. The original owner's brother, Chu Dongsheng, had been taught by Lu Fang to love his little sister. He had subconsciously become a siscon. The original owner grew up without any worries under the care of the two Raos. She continued to study and only stayed at home after graduating from high school 2 months ago. However, Lu Fang and Chu Dongsheng were not willing to let her do the hard work in the field. They only let her do some light work at home. They didn't even let her feed the chickens. They wanted to see if she could learn to be a teacher. Although they loved the original owner's sister-in-law, Yao Shui, was not willing. Chu Xiang thought carefully. The original owner did not seem to have offended Yao Shui. Yao Shui was from the brigade next door. At most, they were studying in the same school, but not in the same class. They did not even talk to each other. Why did it feel like there was a grudge between them? This sister-in-law was a new one. She had just married into the family for 3 months, and was 18 years old like the original owner. Chu Dongsheng was 22 years old. Although he was not as favored as the original owner, he was still Lu Fang's son. He was not the kind of son who was forced to work. Therefore, Chu Dongsheng was very active. From time to time, he would secretly go to the county to exchange for some food to improve the food at home. His 2 younger brothers were willing to follow him. In the eyes of outsiders, he was not diligent and liked to slack off. Therefore, the marriage was delayed until he was 22 years old. For the marriage, Lu Fang offered a much higher betrothal gift than the villagers, but Yao Shui still did not like Chu Dongsheng. At that time, the original owner was about to graduate from high school and was busy studying. She was worried that her future sister-in-law would not be willing to marry her, and that it would not be good for her brother, who knew that Yao Shui suddenly changed. She seemed to like her brother very much, and the marriage was smoothly completed. The original owner was quite happy to have one more person in the family. However, she was keenly aware that her sister-in-law did not like her at all. She seemed to be very friendly and close to her, but she did not feel any kindness at all. Instead, she felt that her sister-in-law's words were strange sometimes, as if there was a hidden meaning in her words. It had just rained today. Yao Shui took a basin to the river to wash clothes. Then she frowned and forgot to feed the chickens. After washing clothes, she would not have time to cook. When the original owner heard her, of course, she expressed her willingness to help. However, her sister-in-law declined for a long time. She said that feeding the chickens was too dirty and cooking was too tiring. She asked her to wash clothes and reminded her to be careful. Her family usually went to the river to wash their clothes on a large flat rock. The host had just stepped on the rock when she slipped and fell into the river with the basin. The basin even hit her head. If it was not for someone else washing clothes, she might have drowned. The original owner did not know how to swim. Although she was saved, she was still in a daze. The doctor in the clinic gave her 2 pills. She would be fine after taking the pills and sleeping. Who knew that she would die from a high fever and faint? Others thought that she was sick and fell asleep. It was not that the doctor wanted to harm her. It was just that everyone in the brigade worked in the fields and their bodies were very strong. If she caught a cold, she would be fine after taking some medicine. However, the original owner did not work much and did not know how to swim. She flopped in the river for a long time and fainted. The doctors in the village were too bad. They did not understand at all. It seemed that the original owner was unlucky. However, Chu Xiang thought that there was something wrong with her sister-in-law. She asked the Heaven and Earth Mirror to check on Yao Shui's situation. She took out a colorless and odorless ointment and applied it on the bump on her forehead. The heaven and earth mirror quickly sent back a picture. The fair and beautiful Yao Shui was cooking noodles alone in the kitchen. She heard that Lu Fang wanted to cook for her personally. Yao Shui felt guilty that she should not have asked the original owner for help. So she took the job of cooking. Lu Fang did not stand on ceremony and scolded Yao Shui. Then, she went out to find Chu Dongsheng. Right now, there was only her and Yao Shui in the entire Chu clan. She saw Yao Shui humming a tune as she cooked, and she even muttered under her breath. Mother and daughter are both of the highest quality. Sooner or later, they'll be hated by everyone. There was indeed a problem. Chu Xiang did not think that she and Lu Fang were the best. Even if Lu Fang doted on her daughter, she did not eat other people's rice. Moreover, the original owner spontaneously cleaned the yard, helped to feed the chickens, and even went to the fields to bring water. It was not that she did not want to do the work. It was just that her mother and brother always wanted to finish the work. What did it have to do with others? She thought that the original owner went to wash the clothes because of Yao Shui. She could not help but think that Yao Shui did it on purpose. She narrowed her eyes and carefully recalled the scene. There were several big stones by the river. The villagers went there to wash clothes. Naturally, there was a place they were used to every time they went there. The stone that the original owner went to was used by their family. Logically speaking, no one slipped into the water. That stone was not slippery. Even if it was just raining, it should not be so slippery. However, she did not have much strength now, so she could not go there to check. After a while, Lu Fang and Chu Dongsheng came back. Chu Dongsheng entered the door and saw that Chu Xiang was awake. He stepped forward and said, Xiang, are you really better? I borrowed the handcart. Let's go to the hospital in the county. Chu Xiang thought that the original owner was gone. She frowned and asked, Brother, why did you borrow the handcart so late? Chu Dongsheng said with annoyance, When we came back from the clinic, I thought you were fine after taking the medicine. So, I went to the river with your sister-in-law to get some clothes. However, you had a high fever. I could not wake you up. I was scared. So I hurried to the captain's house to borrow the handcart. Don't be angry. I won't be so stupid next time. Chu Xiang dared to bet that Yao Shui must have said something to Chu Dongsheng that made him think that the original owner's condition was not serious. Looking at Chu Dongsheng's annoyed face, she knew that he regretted it very much. When he saw that she was awake, he even wanted to send her to the hospital. He must have been frightened just now. Chu Xiang knew that the two relatives in front of her were sincerely concerned about her. She smiled at them and said, I really feel better. Mom, brother, we don't need to go to the hospital. I will be fine after a good night's sleep. Lu Fang touched her forehead and her palm worriedly. Seeing that she was in good spirits, she hesitated and said to Chu Dongsheng, Don't return the handcart yet. You can return it when Xiang is really well. Chu Dongsheng nodded. At this time, Yao Shui came in with a bowl of hot noodles. She said worriedly, Xiang, you have slept for so long. Is your stomach empty? Come and eat something. Sister-in-law put 2 eggs and vegetables in it. Eat more, and you will recover quickly. She said guiltily, It's all my fault. I thought that washing our mother's coat was not tiring, so I agreed to help you. Sai, you are still young. I shouldn't have asked you to do this. Chu Xiang slowly sat up with Lu Fang's help and leaned against the wall. She understood what she meant. They were the same age. Wasn't she mocking her for not being able to do anything? She also pointed out that she took the initiative to ask for help. She also mentioned that her sister-in-law originally only wanted to wash one of Lu Fang's clothes. This was filial and diligent. Ordinary people did not have so many twists and turns in their lives. No matter how much Chu Dongsheng doted on his sister and was filial to his mother, if he was brainwashed by these words every day, he might change in the future. Chu Xiang lowered her head and did not take the bowl in front of her. She blinked and tears fell from her eyes. It's not sister-in-law's fault. I was too stupid. I just stood on the stone and slipped into the river. I haven't learned how to swim yet, so I ended up like this. I caused trouble for sister-in-law. Sister-in-law has to feed the chickens, cook and wash the clothes. She is so busy. I can't do this well. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing immediately felt sorry for her. Chu Dongxing comforted her. Xiang Xiang, don't cry. You haven't done these before. Isn't it normal that you can't do it well? In the future, you should sweep the floor and pick the vegetables at home. Don't go to the river. Lu Fang hugged her and patted her back gently. She said gently, Xiang Xiang is scared, right? It's okay, it's okay. Then, she looked at Yao Shui and said angrily, why do you have to wash the clothes today? Don't you usually wash the clothes together in a basin? It just rained today and there is no sun. How can you wash the clothes? You know that Xiang Xiang can't swim, but you still asked her to go to the river. The road is so slippery after the rain. What are you thinking? You stayed at home for a day and didn't even feed the chickens. How long will it take you to feed the chickens? Will it delay your washing and cooking? Aren't you very good at work? What happened today? Yao Shui was stunned and quickly said, Mom, it's my fault. I felt unwell today and didn't go to work. I fell asleep at home and delayed my work. I also wanted to wash the clothes for you, so that you can wear them tomorrow. She looked at Chu Dongxing helplessly. That look really made one feel pity for her. However, Chu Dongxing had only known her for a short time. How could he compare to his biological sister whom he had doted on for 18 years? He immediately frowned and said, if you don't feel well, you can leave the work for me. Don't let Xiang Xiang do it. I haven't let Xiang Xiang do any work in the past 18 years. It doesn't make sense that she can't handle it with one more person at home. Yao Shui's eyes reddened. She lowered her head and said, I'll remember it. I won't do it again. She looked very aggrieved. Then, she handed the bowl of noodles in her hand to Chu Xiang. Xiang Xiang, eat first. Chu Xiang straightened her back to take the bowl. She looked up at Yao Shui and threw up by the bed. I feel like vomiting when I smell it. Yao Shui's face froze. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing were shocked. They asked anxiously, what's wrong? What's wrong? Chu Dongxing deliberately sniffed the noodles. It doesn't smell anything. What's wrong? Chu Xiang's face was still a little pale. She looked very pitiful. She tugged at Lu Fang's sleeve and said softly, Mom, I want to eat the dumpling soup you make. You make the best dumpling soup. In the past, my brother and I could finish every pot you made. Let's eat dumpling soup tonight, okay? Lu Fang agreed without hesitation. Okay, I'll make it now. Then eat the egg. Chu Xiang shook her head. The eggs in the noodles and the soup don't taste the same. Mom, you can make 3 more purses. 1 for each of us. Sister-in-law can eat this bowl of noodles. She's not feeling well today. She should eat eggs to nourish her body. Chu Dongxing nodded and said to Yao Shui, the noodles will soften soon. Hurry up and take them out to eat. Lu Fang did not mind. She tucked Chu Xiang in and went out to make the soup. There were few people in their family. She was capable, and her son could bring some things home. She was not poor. She did not care about the eggs. Since her daughter gave the noodles to her daughter-in-law, she would give it to her. Noodles made with pure white flour were not often made. Eggs were also not often eaten. Giving Yao Shui a bowl of noodles with 2 poached eggs and vegetables was definitely good for her. However, Yao Shui's body stiffened. Before she came out of the kitchen, she secretly spat a mouthful of saliva into the bowl, and even sprinkled a little bit of the stove's ashes. After stirring it, nothing could be seen. It was all for the sake of satisfying Chu Xiang. In the end, this bowl of noodles became hers. How was she supposed to eat it? Chu Xiang said to Chu Dongxing, brother, sister-in-law must be blaming herself. She's too embarrassed to eat it. Go out with her. Eat more to nourish her body. You must let her finish it. Later, the 3 of us will eat the soup. I'll lie down for a while. Chu Dongxing immediately nodded. Okay, you rest. We'll go out. After a while, Chu Xiang used the heaven and earth mirror to see Yao Shui eating the noodles with a forced smile. She was the best? Then let her see what the best was. Chapter 295. Lu Fang was quick at work. She was cooking for her beloved daughter, so she finished cooking in a short while. She went straight to Chu Xiang's room and placed a short wooden table on the bed. so that it would be convenient for her to eat. Lu Fang sat opposite her on the bed. Chu Dongxing moved a stool to the side of the bed. They were all paying attention to Chu Xiang, afraid that she would act like before. Chu Xiang ate 2 mouthfuls of soup and smiled. It's delicious. Mom, you and brother should eat. It won't taste good when it's cold. Hey, let's eat. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing both laughed and relaxed. The 3 of them laughed in the room. When they were in a good mood, even the people next door could hear their voices. Yao Shui hid in her room with a pale face and retched into a spittoon. She felt very uncomfortable. Hearing their laughter, her face turned even uglier. Her sister-in-law was too pretentious. She even had to eat food specially made by her own mother. If she had known, she would have put more good things in the noodles to reward herself. Thinking of the noodles, her face changed and she couldn't help retching. It was too disgusting. Chu Dongxing kept asking her to finish it. She had no choice but to eat it. Even if she made the noodles herself, she still felt disgusted. She originally wanted to make Chu Xiang suffer today, but she didn't expect that she would be the one suffering in the end. Why didn't that woman drown to death? Chu Xiang saw her appearance through the heaven and earth mirror and smiled. Although she didn't know what was wrong with her sister-in-law, she wasn't anxious. Anyway, she wouldn't be the one suffering. She would just treat it as watching a monkey show. There wasn't much entertainment in this era. It was great to be able to watch a show at home. After she finished eating with her new mother and brother, the 2 of them told her to have a good rest and left her room. They also lowered their voices, afraid that they would disturb her. Chu Xiang asked the heaven and earth mirror to keep an eye on Yao Shui, and she entered the space. She sat on the soft chair that she used to sit on in her previous life. She looked around and found that many things in the space had disappeared. The world of cultivation was much more advanced than the ordinary world. Those magic treasures and pills were enough to subvert the low-level world. Therefore, the laws of time and space did not allow the flow of things that were too magical, and did not allow her to bring the rare treasures of the world of cultivation. Fortunately, she was prepared this time and left all the treasures in the sect. Otherwise, if they were crushed by space-time, her heart would ache. After all, it was something she had saved up for hundreds of years. The medicinal field that was filled with spiritual energy had turned into a very fertile and ordinary field. The demonic beasts and spiritual plants had all disappeared, leaving behind only some ordinary animals and plants. However, she had already prepared for it. The cultivation world was not without mortal things. She had already planted all kinds of medicinal herbs, fruits, vegetables, poultry, and livestock in the space. There was also a lot of grain and oil in the warehouse. Even in the end of the world, it was enough to eat, let alone in the 1970s. Chu Xiang doesn't feel well. She simply looks at the current space, takes a bath, and goes into the bamboo house to lie down. The high bed and soft pillows here were all provided by emperor-ranked beasts, so it was naturally very comfortable. She fell asleep a few minutes after lying down. Her fever had just subsided and she was very tired. There were all kinds of modern and ancient good things in the space, and there were also a lot of top-grade equipment. Chu Xiang is proficient in medical skills, so of course, she has all kinds of medicine. Early the next morning, she gets up to prescribe medicine and give herself an injection. When Lu Fang comes to see her after breakfast, she is much better. Lu Fang touches her forehead. Seeing that her fever has subsided, she is really relieved. She smiles and says, "You're finally better. Mom made you porridge. It's thick and mixed with brown sugar. It must be delicious. Let me bring it in for you." "No, Mom, I'm fine. Let's go to the central room to eat." Chu Xiang puts on her coat and goes out with Lu Fang. Chu Dongxing looks at her a few times and puts the porridge on the table for her. He smiles and says, "I cooked 2 eggs for you and put them in the porridge. Eat more and you'll get better soon." Chu Xiang doesn't refuse. "Thank you, brother. Brother, you are the best to me. When I go to work and earn money, I will buy good things for you. And Mom, you woke up so early to cook, right? I will give you a shoulder massage later." The mother and son pair immediately broke out into smiles and sat on either side of her, happily teasing her, causing Yao Shui, who was sitting opposite her, to hold back her anger. Yao Shui's gaze moves from the eggs in Chu Xiang's bowl to her bowl. Then she looks at her own bowl. There is rice porridge and a plate of pickled vegetables in front of it. Chu Xiang notices her gaze and directly picks an egg in half. She puts one half in Chu Dongxing's bowl and feeds the other half to Lu Fang. Seeing that the two of them refuse, she smiles and says, "If you don't eat, I won't eat either. Mom and Big Brother are working too hard. You must eat well and be healthy. Then you can enjoy a good life in the future." The two of them are happy to be coaxed by her and eat the eggs. In the end, Yao Shui is the only one in the family of 4 who doesn't eat an egg. Chu Xiang is very happy to see this. She is a fiendish cultivator. If anyone dares to find trouble with her, she will make that person suffer. She doesn't care about anything else. Chu Dongxing looks at Yao Shui and asks, "Are you going to work today or are you resting at home?" Yao Shui hurriedly says, "I'm going to work. Every delay costs 8 work points. Xiang spent a lot of money on her treatment. I have to hurry to work. It's okay, I'm much better now." Chu Xiang's smile suddenly turns into disappointment. She sighed and says, "Sigh, it's all my fault. I can't earn money, I can't work, and I'm a burden to the family. I'm the most useless person in the family." Lu Fang immediately says, "What do you mean by useless? You're my daughter. Even if you don't do anything, I'm happy to take care of you. Don't think too much." Then, she glares at Yao Shui and warns, "The money I saved for half of my life is enough to give you a betrothal gift and pay for my daughter's treatment. I know the son I raised. It's very easy for him to take care of you. If you want to work, then go to work. If you want to rest, then rest. Don't talk nonsense." Yao Shui stiffens and says, "Mom, I know. I'm just thinking for the family. I said too much. Don't be angry." Chu Xiang sees her gritting her teeth. She stops talking for the time being and eats the porridge happily. Chu Dongxing frowns and quickly finishes eating. He says to Yao Shui, "Hurry up, we're leaving." Yao Shui doesn't say anything. She lowers her head and finishes the porridge. Then she waved goodbye and goes to work with Chu Dongxing. Lu Fang says to Chu Xiang, "Don't think too much. Even if your brother marries a wife, this is still my family. If they don't get along well, let them move out. We'll live together. I won't let my daughter suffer." Chu Xiang laughs and says, "Mom, when did you see me suffer?" "Not yet. Then why did you wash the clothes yesterday? If you're afraid of water, you'll go to the river. You're not allowed to go there in the future. You and Mom, did your sister-in-law do something behind our backs? Why do you think you haven't done anything?" Lu Fang puts down the bowl and asks seriously. No matter how she thinks about it, she feels that something is wrong. Chu Xiang also puts down the bowl and frowns slightly. She hesitates and says, "Sister-in-law doesn't do anything. I just feel that I'm the same age as her. After she married me, she's diligent, capable, considerate, and knows how to talk. It makes me think that I don't know anything." Lu Fang touches her hair and sighed. "You still don't understand. Don't believe what others say. I married your brother because of these rumors. Who knew that after I married her, I found out that it's not true? Diligent? Think about it. What has she been doing since she married me 3 months ago? She doesn't feel well and doesn't go to work. I don't see where she's uncomfortable. She can't even clean a chicken coop at home. I know she thinks it's dirty. Also, your brother's clothes were torn. She sewed a patch, but it was crooked. She didn't manage to sew half of it. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I brought it over and sewed it for your brother. She doesn't cook well and is quite scheming. Look at what she said just now. What does it have to do with her how much you spend on treatment? That's my money, not hers. She's really nosy. She also reads books at home. I heard that she stopped studying in the first year of high school because her grades are too bad. Now that she's married, why does she read books? Isn't she just trying to be lazy? More importantly, if she wants to be lazy, then she can be lazy. I'm not that evil mother-in-law who wants her to work. She just has to pretend to be diligent. It's so annoying." Lu Fang is still angry about her daughter falling into the river. It's impossible for her to be nice to Yao Shui for the time being. Naturally, she doesn't hold back when she scolds. There's only the mother and daughter here, so there's no need to worry about anything spreading. Chu Xiang didn't expect there to be so many things. It seems that Yao Shui is good at acting in front of outsiders. But it's also true. At this time, everyone is reciting the red quote. The people in the village are simple-minded. They only work to fill their stomachs. They don't think in circles and are easily led by the nose. How can they be as scheming as Yao Shui? Lu Fang also has to go to work after eating. She reminded Chu Xiang to rest at home and not run around. Then she left in a hurry. Chu Xiang strolled around the courtyard by herself. She took a basket and hung it on her arm. Then she slowly walked to the back of the mountain. On the way, she bumped into the villagers. The villagers were very concerned about her health and why she went out. Chu Xiang replied with a smile. I'm much better. I was thinking that since it rained yesterday, I'm going to the mountain to pick some mushrooms to eat. If there's no good seasoning, meat, or side dishes for mushrooms, it won't taste good. At least, the villagers don't like to eat it. They are reluctant to use oil and salt. It's better to eat wild vegetables than mushrooms. So, when Chu Xiang went to the forest, she only saw a few girls picking up branches and mushrooms. Chu Xiang leisurely strolled in the forest for a long time. When it's almost time to eat, she took out a pheasant from her space and put a lot of mushrooms in the basket. Then she went down the mountain to go home. The villagers who got off work were all surprised when they saw her. Chu Xiang, where did you get this? Chu Xiang happily said. I was tired from picking mushrooms and wanted to sit down and rest for a while. Who knew that there was a pheasant dozing in the grass next to me? I don't know why it didn't hide from me. Fortunately, I was fast, or else it would have run away. Oh, you're so lucky. As the saying goes, those who survive a great disaster are bound to have good fortune in the future. It seems like the old saying is true. Take it back and let your mother stew it for you. It's good to nourish your body. Okay. Chu Xiang crisply responded. She carried the pheasant all the way home, and many people saw it. When Lu Fang got home and found out that she picked up a pheasant, she immediately laughed. My daughter is so lucky. You don't have to worry about anything. You can get whatever you want. Chu Xiang saw that the corners of Yao Shui's mouth were obviously pulled down. It seemed that her sister-in-law hated her good fortune. That's not easy. She was so lucky. She didn't want to anger her sister-in-law to death. Chapter 296. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing were exhausted after a day's work, but when they got home, they had a meal of chicken stewed with mushrooms. Chu Xiang kept putting food into their bowls. They were so happy that they could not close their mouths. They thought that Chu Xiang was too considerate. Yao Shui could not hold back the smile on her face. She had her eyes on several pieces of meat, but every time she reached out her chopsticks, Chu Xiang would cut her off. The meat she wanted to eat was either given to Lu Fang or Chu Dongxing. Most importantly, the mother and son would also give delicious food like chicken drumsticks and chicken wings to Chu Xiang. The rest of the food she could eat were chicken breasts and chicken feet. She did not like to eat any of them. Yao Shui almost suspected that Chu Xiang did it on purpose. However, when she looked at Chu Xiang, she felt that Chu Xiang was still the same. She had not changed at all. She just knew how to flatter her family. Once she did that, she would not have to do anything. Yao Shui despised Chu Xiang in her heart, but she was even angrier. Why didn't she have the chance to catch a wild chicken? If she had caught it, she would have gotten one of the chicken drumsticks. Chu Xiang felt her resentment, and even gave her 2 chicken feet. She smiled and said, Sister-in-law, I've seen you staring at these chicken feet a few times. If you want to eat them, just take them. We're at home. Don't be so polite. Brother, you should also persuade sister-in-law to eat both of these. Don't be shy. Yao Shui looked at the chicken feet in her bowl, and her body stiffened. Not only did she not want to eat them, but she was also afraid. She was afraid of chicken heads and chicken feet. She pushed the bowl to the side almost immediately and said in a stiff voice, I don't want to eat this. Brother Dongxing. Chu Xiang interrupted her in surprise. Sister-in-law, are you angry with me? It has nothing to do with you that I fell into the river. I don't blame you at all. I like you as my biological sister. Please don't be estranged from me. Chu Dongxing frowned and said, Yao Shui, what are you doing? Chicken feet are delicious. Usually Xiang Xiang and I would have one each. Even our mother couldn't bear to eat them. Today Xiang Xiang gave them all to you. Why are you slapping her face like this? Yao Shui hurriedly waved her hands. No, no, no. I'm just afraid of chicken feet. I don't dare to eat them really. I'll eat something else. I love chicken breast. If you don't believe me, I'll eat this. I really don't mean anything else. Yao Shui quickly picked up a piece of chicken breast and put it into her mouth. Then she pushed the bowl forward. Lu Fang snorted. If she doesn't want to eat, then you two will. Lu Fang decided to give the chicken feet to Chu Dongxing and Chu Xiang. She looked at Yao Shui with a questioning gaze. She always suspected that this daughter-in-law of hers was up to no good and was bullying her daughter, but she couldn't find any fault with it. Otherwise, let's see how she would deal with her. Chu Xiang winked at Chu Dongsheng. Brother, didn't you hear that sister-in-law likes chicken breast? There are a few pieces. Give them to her. Chu Dongsheng naturally agreed. He even smiled and said to Yao Shui, Sister, you dote on sister-in-law. As time passes, you'll know that the most considerate person in our family is Xiang Xiang. She can think of anything and is very caring. Don't you think she misses you the most and treats you the best? Yao Shui forced herself to nod and smile. Of course Xiang Xiang is the best. She suddenly had an idea and smiled. Xiang Xiang used to be very popular in our school. I've heard of her even though we weren't in the same class. What? You've heard of Xiang Xiang? What about others? Tell me about them. Lu Fang was interested. She wanted to know what her daughter was like in school. Yao Shui smiled more naturally. Of course it's Xiang Xiang. She's good-looking and gentle. I even secretly asked around if she had a boyfriend. Our Xiang Xiang is so good. Of course, we have to find a good man for her. The best is someone like Brother Dongsheng. He's responsible and capable. He can protect and dote on Xiang Xiang for the rest of her life. Lu Fang and Chu Xiang liked hearing this. However, Chu Xiang said, Sister-in-law, do you have any relatives or friends that you want to introduce to me? Please don't. I still want to spend more time at home with Mom and Big Brother. How long will it take for me to come home after I get married? Sister-in-law, look at you. You don't usually come home after you get married. I won't do it. I can't bear to. Yao Shui's smile froze again. What did she mean? Chu Xiang couldn't bear to. So she didn't come home because she was unfilial? She forced herself to continue. Mom, Xiang Xiang is still a child. Lu Fang nodded. Isn't she just a child? There's no hurry. Yes, there's no hurry. Chu Dongxing ate 2 mouthfuls of rice and said, Xiang Xiang graduated from high school. She's fair and clean. She should marry a city man and find a job. She can't marry into the army to earn work points and take care of the house. It's too tiring. Our Xiang Xiang is worthy of a city man. Yao Shui lowered her head. This time she couldn't smile anymore. She married Chu Dongsheng so that she could earn work points and take care of the house. Chu Xiang was worthy of a city man, but she wasn't? Who was she mocking? She knew that she wouldn't hear anything good from her mother-in-law. She hated the fact that the man beside her couldn't tell whether it was good or bad. He even agreed with her. Chu Xiang glanced at her. After eating, she rested her chin on her hand and said to Chu Dongsheng, Brother, I really don't want to leave you guys. If you don't go to the city, I won't go either. Actually, I haven't done much farm work. I'm quite interested in it. Brother, can you teach me when you have time? Chu Dongxing agreed without hesitation. Okay, we have some treasures in the backyard. You can do whatever you want. I'll teach you. It was as if he was coaxing a child. Chu Xiang guessed that he probably thought that she was too bored to do farm work. After all, only people who had never done farm work would say such things. Chu Xiang really hadn't done any farm work. Yao Shui was even more indignant. She was the same age as Chu Xiang. They were both beautiful and had studied in high school. She had been compared to them since they were young. She couldn't understand why Chu Xiang was so lucky. She was lazy and didn't work. A few nice words were more effective than others. She wanted to go to the county to buy a piece of cloth, but Chu Dongxing didn't accompany her. He actually agreed to play house, with Chu Xiang to take care of the treasures. She was so angry. However, Yao Shui felt that she was a little anxious. She made Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing a little unhappy, so she kept a low profile. Seeing this, Chu Xiang ignored her. When she was free, she asked Chu Dongxing to go to the backyard to plant vegetables. Chu Dongxing taught her how to plow the fields, sow the seeds, and water the plants. In fact, the original owner had learned them before. It was just that her family didn't allow her to do these, so she was not very skilled in this aspect. When it came to Chu Xiang, she saw Chu Dongxing demonstrate it once. She tried it twice and learned it. Chu Dongxing didn't take it seriously. He smiled and praised, "Xiang Xiang, you're good. You learn everything quickly. No wonder your grades are so good. Your brother can't do it. I can't fall asleep in class." Chu Xiang found it funny and said, "Brother, why are you so good at talking? Since I'm so good at it, then teach me how to take care of the crops in the field. I also want to know how to graze the cows. Brother, can you take me to see it?" Chu Dongxing was a little embarrassed. "Xiang Xiang, there's nothing fun about that. It's sunny outside. You'll get tanned in an hour in the field. The cows are also smelly and love to attract flies. It's not fun." Chu Xiang looked at him with a disappointed expression. "Brother, I'll stay at home. Someone will say that I'm lazy. I don't want to hear it. Take me to see it. Besides, I'm really interested. I'm not fooling around." Chu Dongxing hesitated for a moment. It was rare for his sister to ask him, so he agreed. Although Lu Fang didn't want her daughter to be exposed to the wind and sun outside, she thought more about it because Yao Shui mentioned Chu Xiang's marriage at the dinner table. Now that Chu Xiang had finished her studies and couldn't go to college, it was time for her to get married and look for a job. However, it was not so easy to find a job. If it was really possible to find one, Chu Dongxing would have gone 2 years ago. Therefore, it was best to find Chu Xiang a good husband who was simple and doted on her. At least, Chu Xiang had to have a good reputation. Didn't she like Yao Shui because of her reputation? A good reputation was still very important. It was time to let Chu Xiang go out more. Lu Fang was busy the whole night. She changed a piece of clothing for Chu Xiang to wear, and asked Chu Dongxing to weave a big straw hat. The next day, when Chu Xiang went to work, she dressed her up fully. Chu Xiang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Mom, it's okay to get tanned. If I don't get tanned, I'll look healthy." Lu Fang hurriedly shook her head. No. You're a beautiful girl. How can you look good if you get tanned? You look so good with your fair and clean skin. Don't get tanned." She thought in her heart that appearance was also important when it came to choosing a person. Her daughter looked so lovable. She couldn't get tanned just by standing there. Chu Xiang didn't know that her mother was thinking about her marriage. She dressed herself up obediently and followed them. She was familiar with this. In her previous life, she was also fully dressed. The people around her were more nervous than her. She was used to their concern. The villagers who were also going to work were a little surprised when they saw Chu Xiang. A woman who was close to Lu Fang teased her. "Sister Lu, you're finally willing to let your daughter out to meet people? I thought you were going to hide for a long time." Another woman laughed. "One look at Chu Xiang's outfit and I know it was done by Sister Lu. Sister Lu dotes on her the most in our brigade. Chu Xiang also has to work today? It's tiring work. I'm afraid your hand will be hurt easily when you hold the pen." Chu Xiang smiled obediently. "It's okay. Everyone has been through this. It's glorious to work. I've been learning this kind of work. I don't want to go to school now. I just want to help my family and not let my mother and brother work so hard. Studying should be of some use. Otherwise, I've studied for so many years for nothing." "You're right. Sister Lu, look at your daughter's awareness. Working is glorious. Educated people are indeed different. No matter how you look at it, she's rare. She might even be better at farming than us. Hey, Sister Lu, let's talk about letting your daughter be my goddaughter. I'll definitely dote on her as much as you do." Lu Fang laughed and scolded. "Go away. Otherwise, I won't bring my daughter out. I'm afraid you'll snatch her away from me." The group laughed and went into the forest. Yao Shui lowered her head and followed Chu Dongxing without saying anything. She was waiting. She was waiting to see Chu Xiang make a fool of herself in the field later. The villagers were just joking around for Lu Fang's sake. With Chu Xiang's weak appearance, she would only cause trouble if she went into the forest. When the time came, the villagers would not be talking about her. When they reached the top of the forest, Chu Xiang looked at the crops that were growing well. She wondered what was the difference between these crops and medicinal herbs. She knew how to take care of medicinal herbs, so she should be able to take care of crops, right? Chu Dongxing looked at her hesitantly and said, "There are insects in here. If you're not used to it, you can wait at the side." Chu Xiang laughed. "Brother, just do what you usually do. I'll learn from you. Don't worry." Chapter 297. The original owner of the body didn't usually farm. When Chu Xiang came out, many people in the field looked at her as if she was new. Basically, they didn't think that she could do anything. That girl and Yao Shui were waiting to see her make a fool of herself. After all, she was still loved by her family in this era. Chu Xiang didn't think it was dirty at all. She wasn't afraid of insects and the like. She didn't even frown. She happily followed Chu Dongxing to pick weeds and catch insects, listening to what Chu Dongxing told her to pay attention to. When there was a place that needed to be hoed, Chu Dongxing would hoe it. Chu Xiang was strong enough to hoe 3 or 4 times, and her palms were red. However, others didn't think that she was working hard at all. Instead, they felt that she was working very seriously. It was mainly because she was neither arrogant nor impatient. She always had a faint smile on her face, giving people a very peaceful feeling. They even felt a little embarrassed to gossip about her. They didn't know the term, gentle and quiet, but they felt that Chu Xiang was very comfortable to look at. No wonder Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing doted on her so much. After a while, Chu Xiang saw that Lu Fang was sweating profusely. She took out a clean handkerchief and wiped the sweat for her. Then, she took off the water bottle on her back and gave it to her to drink. Lu Fang was so happy that she couldn't close her mouth. People with eyes could see that Chu Xiang was very tired, but when she got up, her back was still straight. She didn't complain at all and still looked happy. Some people even praised her to Lu Fang. "Sister Lu, your daughter is really good. She looks fair and tender, but she doesn't care about heavy things at all. She even knows how to care about you. She's so considerate." Lu Fang smiled. "Of course. Otherwise, why would I care about my daughter so much? Daughters are the most considerate cotton-padded jackets of mothers. That's it. There's nothing more considerate than a daughter." Yes. Mine is the same. She knows that I'm tired, so she prepared breakfast early in the morning and waited for me to eat. Mine is the same. Last night, she helped me to make up clothes until midnight." Taking advantage of the break, Lu Fang was surrounded by several people. They all began to brag about how good their daughters were. No one was willing to lose to others. After all, their own daughters were the best. However, only they knew what they were thinking in their hearts. Their daughters were either working hard or fussing and fussing. How could they be as considerate as Chu Xiang to Lu Fang? As the women chatted, they began to talk about marriage. Chu Xiang was 18 years old. In their eyes, it was the right time for them to look at each other. In the past, he felt that Chu Xiang did not work much and had studied for so many years. She definitely had high standards and was not easy to get along with. He felt that it was not suitable to marry her. Now that they saw that Chu Xiang not only had a good temperament, but she also worked well, naturally some people were tempted. Although most of the people in their village had the surname Chu, it was passed down from hundreds to thousands of years ago. They were not one family, and they were married to each other. Even if they had to arrange a marriage, they were willing to help their relatives and friends ask a few questions. Good girls were sought after by hundreds of families. The more people asked about them, the happier Lu Fang was. She worked harder than usual and asked about the situation of several families. Not far from them were the educated youths who came to the village to help. In fact, there were 12 educated youths in total. However, the other 4 were married to the villagers and did not live with the educated youths. These educated youths were also talking about Chu Xiang. "I heard that Chu Xiang's mother dotes on Mother Rao the most in the countryside. Chu Xiang is really lucky. It seems that her studies are good. She is the first in school." "What is the first in school?" "It's useless to be the first in school. Now it's not allowed to go to college. After she finishes high school, she still has to come back to farm. After that, the 3 female educated youths lowered their heads to farm. It could be seen that they were not in a good mood. They were all girls. They were originally from the city and their studies were good. Now they could only farm in the remote countryside. However, Chu Xiang was born in the remote countryside, but she was raised to be fair and tender, and was doted on by her family. They did not say anything unpleasant, but they still felt uncomfortable. The atmosphere of work was also a little dull. A male educated youth looked at them and winked at other male educated youths. Then he said very loudly, "This Chu Xiang has never shown her face before. It turns out that she is the prettiest in the team. She is even prettier than Yao Shui." An older male educated youth frowned. "Li Hongjun, don't be blind. What if someone heard you? Hurry up and work." Li Hongjun did not shut up. He glanced at Chu Xiang and said, "Those aunties over there seem to be looking for a match for Chu Xiang. Brother Lu, what do you think of me?" Brother Lu was stunned for a moment and subconsciously looked at Chu Xiang. He thought for a while and said, "That's tough." Looking at her mother and brother's attitude, they'll definitely find her a job that can support her. You only earn 8 work points, and it's already hard for you to support yourself. You don't have any siblings or parents to help you, so they'll definitely be unhappy. I think they should look for a family with a reputation in the brigade. Li Hongjun curled his lips. That's hard to say. There are many people in the brigade who like me. Don't talk nonsense. Brother Lu quickly looked around. When he saw that no one was looking at them, he was relieved and glared at Li Hongjun. Li Hongjun was rebuffed. He looked at Huo Wenkai, who had been working silently. He sneered. Better than the landlord's son of a bitch. Huo Wenkai stood up and grabbed Li Hongjun's collar. He lifted him up and put him to the side. Li Hongjun was shocked and said angrily, "Huo Wenkai, what are you doing?" Huo Wenkai continued to work and said in a deep voice, "You are blocking me." A lot of people heard the noise and looked over. Li Hongjun felt embarrassed. He wanted to say something, but Brother Lu pulled him away. Brother Lu said, "You still want to provoke him? Did you forget the beating when you first came?" Li Hongjun shrank his neck and said angrily, "His background is so bad, but he still dares to be unreasonable. No wonder he is the descendant of a landlord." Brother Lu shook his head and sighed. Huo Wenkai's background was bad, but the Huo family was also punished. Huo Wenkai's fists were as hard as rock. Provoking him was asking for a beating. But Huo Wenkai was smart. Last time when he sleepwalked, he beat Li Hongjun up. No one could find anything wrong with that. Even if everyone suspected that he was faking it, could they find any evidence? After all, everyone was working in the field. Who would look down on who? Brother Lu did not want to have more contact with Huo Wenkai. He also did not want to be too close to Li Hongjun. He found an excuse and went to work on the other side of the field. The other educated youths also followed him and dispersed. Huo Wenkai was still working nimbly. After finishing the work in the field, he wiped his sweat and strode away. When Chu Xiang looked up, she happened to see that man. He was so good-looking. Those arms, those legs, it was obvious that they were strong. Chu Xiang pulled Chu Dongxing's sleeve and asked, "Brother, who is that? Why did he leave?" Chu Dongxing glanced at him and said, "Him? He is an educated youth. His name is Huo Wenkai. Heh, this guy might be able to endure. He's much stronger than those weak and gentle ones." He was going to the cowshed. He worked fast and well. He applied to the brigade leader that every time he finished his work in the fields, he could go to the cowshed. He could do 2 jobs, and he was guaranteed to do more than the others. He can earn 18 work points. I can only earn 12 work points if I work hard. Chu Xiang could see that he really admired Huo Wenkai. She could not help but laugh and said, "Brother, if you want to do 2 jobs, I don't believe you can do worse than him. You are obviously slacking off." Chu Dongxing touched the back of his head and laughed. "It's enough that you know. Why did you come out? Other strong men can only earn 12 work points. When we rest at noon, I will take you to see the cows." Huo Wenkai did a good job, and the cows were clean. But don't talk too much with him. He is not good. He used to be a landlord's young master. People saw him and gossiped. It's not nice. Chu Xiang nodded. She did not care much about this not good. If he did not steal or rob, and his family had land, wasn't it normal to be a landlord and enjoy life? When she was a devil cultivator, many people would gossip about her whenever they mentioned her. It was as if she was some kind of homicidal maniac. There was something wrong with her. She always looked down on this kind of person. Nobody else could hear the brother and sister talking. They only saw them laughing and laughing. It was obvious that the brother and sister's relationship was very good. Next to Yao Shui was Wang Fun, who was on good terms with her. Wang Fun touched her arm and leaned in. Your man dotes on your sister-in-law too much. Did she make you feel bad? I heard that she fell into the river because you asked her to wash clothes? Yao Shui lowered her head and squatted on the ground to pull the weeds. It was an accident. She did not say anything else, but it made people feel that she was wronged. Wang Fun said, You are the flower of your brigade. Your betrothal gifts are better than others. Many people want you to marry into a good family. I think you will have a hard time in the future. Your mother-in-law and sister-in-law have always been the most difficult to deal with. Chu Dongxing is so close to his mother and sister. It will not be easy for you to control him. Yao Shui was impatient to listen to her nonsense. She turned around and said, My man is very good to me. He is a good person. Wang Fun curiously moved closer to her. Really? How is it good? Why don't you be with me? Is it better to be married than to stay at home? This time, Yao Shui wanted to show off, so she followed her. Anyway, Chu Dongxing was very good to her. In the future, this would be considered as a public display of affection. At this moment, Wang Fun's ears turned red. She even jokingly pushed her and laughed with her. After a while, Wang Fun was a little puzzled. He is so good to you. Why didn't he come over and ask you? Look at you. You are sweating. He only cares about your sister-in-law. Yao Shui smiled faintly. It's rare for my sister-in-law to come out. Of course, I have to take care of her. Brother Dongxing is usually with me, right? Wang Fun thought about it and agreed. She then muttered about how Chu Xiang did not know how to work. She had to learn how to work in the field at her age. She studied for so many years, but she could not get into university. All the money she spent was wasted. Wang Fun's words were full of sarcasm towards Chu Xiang. Yao Shui was usually very happy to hear it, but today, she was not happy. When she came just now, she wanted to see Chu Xiang make a fool of herself. In the end, she did not get to see Chu Xiang make a fool of herself. She almost made a fool of herself. Chu Dongxing was such an insensitive man. He gave all his love and care to his sister. Looking at how precious Chu Xiang was, what right did she have? Didn't she know how to say nice things? Sooner or later, she would pull Chu Dongxing over and chase away that annoying mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Chapter 298. Chu Xiang had found something she was interested in, so she was no longer interested in Yao Shui. She glanced at Yao Shui, who was whispering to someone else, and ignored her. At noon, everyone got off work and went home. Lu Fang immediately asked Chu Xiang to wash up and lie down to rest for a while. She saw that her daughter's palms were red from the abrasion, and her heart ached. She soaked a towel in the freshly collected river water and applied it to Chu Xiang's palms. Then, she asked Yao Shui to cook in the kitchen. Lu Fang missed Chu Xiang and wanted to cook for Chu Xiang personally, because the soup she made was delicious. She felt that her daughter might not be used to Yao Shui's cooking, so she simply asked Yao Shui to help her and let her cook. Hence, Yao Shui did not find a chance to do anything to Chu Xiang's food. It was hot in the afternoon, and everyone had to rest at home for 2 to 3 hours. However, Chu Xiang wanted to see the cows, so Chu Dongxing quickly finished his meal and took her to see the cows when they were not working in the afternoon. Half of the cows had to be grazed. Huo Wenkai worked in the field every morning and immediately went to graze the cows until he got off work. At noon, they could go over and see how Huo Wenkai worked. Chu Xiang and her brother went to the cowshed and saw 4 cows lazily on the grass from afar. Chu Xiang subconsciously said, "It's quite clean." Chu Dongxing nodded. "This is Huo Wenkai. I heard that he loves cleanliness very much. Every time he gets off work, he will take a shower and wash his clothes. He will also dry his quilt and other things. He doesn't disturb others in his house. If others don't like it, they will just grumble. Look at him, he has to clean the cows. Every time he cleans the cow sheet, the haystacks are also neat and tidy. If it were not for him, he would have smelled the scent of incense. As the two of them were talking, Huo Wenkai came out of the cowshed with a bucket and a brush in his hand. He did not say anything when he saw them. He strode to the cows and brushed them. His arms were very strong, and the brush fell on the cows with moderate strength. It was obvious that the cows were quite comfortable. Chu Dongxing said, "He barely talks. Many people despise him for his bad background and ostracize him. However, your brother can still exchange a few words with him. Let's go. There's no one around right now. I'll bring you over to have a look." Chu Dongxing walked over with Chu Xiang and greeted Huo Wenkai with a smile. "Have you eaten? I can't stand it if I keep doing this." Huo Wenkai didn't even raise his head. "I'll eat later." Chu Xiang felt that his voice was very pleasant. She looked at him and then at the cows he raised. "These cows look very strong." Chu Dongxing hurriedly said, "So, don't go near the cow for no reason. If it bumps into you again, it will be very strong. If you want to work, you can just follow me and Mom and do whatever you want. Why do you have to come here to watch the cows?" Chu Xiang walked around the cows and looked at them seriously. She even touched them. "I just want to learn more. Not only do I want to see cows, but I also want to see pigs. Also, can you teach me how to catch fish?" Chu Dongxing's expression changed immediately. "No. Have you forgotten how serious your condition was when you fell into the river? Now that you've recovered, you're not allowed to go near the river in the future. If you want to eat fish, I'll catch as many as you want." Chu Xiang walked in front of Chu Dongxing and shook her head. She looked at him seriously. "Brother, I've thought it through this time. I have to overcome my weakness. I can't swim, that's why I had that accident. If I learn how to swim, I won't be afraid of water in the future, right? So, I want to learn how to swim and catch fish." Chu Dongxing wanted to refuse, but he had always been helpless with his sister. Especially now when Chu Xiang looked so serious, he couldn't say no. He couldn't help but want to form an alliance, so he pulled Huo Wenkai over. He even forgot to ask Chu Xiang and Huo Wenkai to talk less. "Huo Wenkai, aren't you in danger? Since it's dangerous, you might as well not go, right?" Huo Wenkai looked up at Chu Xiang for a while and said, "Weaknesses have to be overcome. Chu Xiang is right." What's wrong with you? Go and catch your cow." Chu Dongxing hurriedly pushed him back and pulled Chu Xiang far away. Xiang, this is not a joke. You were afraid of water before. Why do you have to compete?" "I'm not competing. I just want to learn more. Who knows what will happen in the future? Mom will get older and older. You'll have children in the future after you get married. How can you dote on me for the rest of my life? If I don't learn more, what if something happens next time?" Chu Xiang said seriously. "It's better to teach a man to fish than to teach him how to fish. Brother, isn't that the truth?" Chu Dongxing wanted to refute her, but he felt that he was stupid and couldn't find a reason. Chu Xiang laughed and patted his arm. "All right, I know what to do. Doesn't our mother know how to swim? You keep a lookout for us and let Mom teach me. Is that okay? I promise that I won't go into the water for fun. I won't put myself in danger. I still want to earn a lot of money to repay you in the future. I want everyone to see that you didn't dote on the wrong person." Chu Dongxing was stunned for a moment. This time he agreed readily. "Okay, you can learn whatever you want. I'll support you. Let's go, I'll take you to ask how this cow is raised so well." Chu Dongxing then brought Chu Xiang to Huo Wenkai's side and asked her in detail. After Huo Wenkai answered a few questions, he frowned and looked at them carefully. "You want this job?" Chu Xiang waved her hand and smiled. "No, I just want to know." "You must be tired. Let me try." Huo Wenkai looked at her and gave her the brush. Chu Dongxing opened his mouth and swallowed the words to stop her. He stood at the side and watched a little worriedly. Chu Xiang was a little clumsy when she first started. She was not very natural, but she knew how to comfort the cow. She touched the cow's neck and said a few words to it. The cow did not move and let her continue to brush it. Then Chu Xiang mastered the strength in a few minutes and brushed it well. Huo Wenkai asked Chu Dongxing from behind. "You're really not going to take my job?" Chu Dongxing rolled his eyes at him. "Don't worry, I don't want my sister to do this job. It's easy to herd cows. It's so tiring. It's dirty, smelly and tiring." Huo Wenkai frowned. "That's what you think, right? What if your sister insists on herding cows? What will you do?" Chu Dongxing. What could he do? Of course, he would help his sister get this job. He coughed lightly and did not say anything. Huo Wenkai understood what he meant, but he did not stop Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang finished brushing the cow very quickly. Her arms were a little sore. She had just transmigrated and her body had not recovered yet. The original owner had never done heavy work, so it was really difficult for her body to do this. She wiped the sweat on her forehead with her sleeve and turned back with a smile. "I've learned how to brush. Thank you, Huo Wenkai." Huo Wenkai was dazzled by her bright smile. He looked away for a while and said, "You're welcome." Chu Dongxing felt sorry for Chu Xiang when he saw her sweaty face. He went forward and said, Xiang, you haven't done much work before. You can't do so much work at once. Otherwise, you'll be in pain tomorrow and can't do anything. Let's go back. You can rest at home in the afternoon. We'll take it slow." Chu Dongxing was prepared to be rejected. He did not expect that Chu Xiang would agree to his request and ask him to go home. Huo Wenkai looked up at their backs as he mowed the grass. He felt that Chu Xiang was very different from what he heard from others. He stared blankly for a moment, then chuckled. Since when did other people speak the truth? His image in others' mouths was even worse. He could not believe them at all. In the afternoon, the people in the field did not see Chu Xiang. They asked around and found out that Chu Xiang was resting at home. Everyone felt that it was as expected. To be honest, they were not used to a person who did not work for years suddenly working so seriously. Moreover, Chu Xiang was good at her studies. She was always the top student in the grade. Most of them did not even know how to read. When they talked to Chu Xiang, they always felt a little uncomfortable. They felt that Chu Xiang was not from the same world as them. It was strange to stay by their side and work with them. However, there were still people who asked Lu Fang about Chu Xiang's marriage. They asked Lu Fang what kind of husband she wanted to find for Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang's good grades were also an advantage. If she was good at her studies, she could teach children and nephews in the future. She could save money on school fees. No matter how clean she was, she would definitely have to clean up her children in the future. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing both doted on Chu Xiang. They might be willing to help Chu Xiang in the future. Even if Chu Xiang was not good at work, she was still a very good girl. She was also very good-looking. In the future, her children would also be good-looking. Lu Fang happily talked to them for a while. Later, she slowly felt a little uncomfortable. She felt that if so many people liked her daughter, it would be as if she would be separated from her daughter soon. She could not bear to. When she went home at night, she kept glancing at Chu Xiang. She glanced at her for a while, then glanced again. When Chu Xiang asked her what was wrong, she sighed and touched Chu Xiang's hair. "My daughter has grown up. She's going to get married." Chu Xiang did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Mom, I'm not anxious." "Why are you anxious? Do you think I'm not good enough to get married?" Lu Fang panicked. "How is that possible? My daughter is the best in the whole brigade." Chu Xiang spread her hands. "Isn't that enough? Why are you so anxious? Take your time and choose a good one. It doesn't matter if you delay for a few years. Isn't there an empty space next to our house? In the future, I can build a house next door. We'll be able to see each other across the yard, okay?" Lu Fang was stunned. Okay. When Chu Dongxing saw this, he found an excuse and pulled Lu Fang to the backyard. Then he told her that Chu Xiang had a lot of things to learn. He also told her what Chu Xiang said in the afternoon. He said in a serious tone, "Mom, Xiang must have heard some gossip and wants to prove herself. She wants to show others that we didn't dote on her for nothing. She's very ambitious. Look at her, she wants to get first place in her studies. How can she stand the gossip in the brigade? She's so smart. Even if others don't say anything, she can tell that someone is a deadbeat by their eyes. So I think we shouldn't be in a hurry to find a partner for her. She doesn't have the heart for that now. Let's support her well, and let her learn whatever she wants to learn. I'll also ask my friends to keep an eye on her. We'll know who's the best. We'll pick when the time comes. Lu Fang was stunned for a moment. She slapped her thigh and said, "Okay, let your sister do whatever she wants. She's good at everything. What's wrong with doting on her? Let others see how good our Xiang Xiang is." Chapter 299. With Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing's support at home, Yao Shue's opinions were useless. Chu Dongxing went back to the house and told her to pay attention to whose sister was gossiping. Gossips were bound to get retribution. Yao Shue almost vomited blood. Which gossips? Wasn't she the one who gossiped the most? Her man's words sounded like he was scolding her, but she couldn't refute him. Instead, she suffered internal injuries. Since then, Chu Xiang had learned all the farm work. In the beginning, Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing were very worried about her. They were afraid that she would bump into something when she did some heavy work. They were afraid that she would hurt herself when she used the knife. But gradually, the two of them realized that Chu Xiang was a fast learner. She could do everything well and did it steadily. There was no need for them to worry about her at all. Only then did they put their hearts back into their stomachs, and a wave of pride grew in their hearts. This was the girl they doted on. Look, how smart and capable she was. When Chu Xiang went to work on the first day, the villagers were surprised. On the second and third day, they were also surprised. They even said that Chu Xiang was very persistent. After 10 days, everyone was used to Chu Xiang's ability to work. Not only could she do it, but she also improved rapidly. On the first day, she had to watch her brother learn everything. Now in less than 10 days, she was no longer slower than her brother. In other words, she was faster than most girls. Who was the one who said that Chu Xiang was lazy and didn't know how to do anything? Were they blind? When the villagers were bored, they could talk to anyone. If something happened, it would spread throughout the village in a short time. Now that someone was wondering who was the one who spread the lie, they naturally found out the truth very quickly. In less than half a day, someone mysteriously said that the lie came from Yao Shue. Although Yao Shue didn't say it clearly, she meant that Chu Xiang was lazy and didn't work even though she was eating well. The villagers didn't need any evidence to spread lies. Moreover, everyone calculated the time when Yao Shue married into the village. It was from that time that Chu Xiang was said to be a lazy and gluttonous person. Why hadn't anyone done this in the past 10 years? Actually, there weren't many people in the past. The main reason was that the original owner had always been studying. If she was studying at school, who would think that she was lazy? She had been idling at home recently after graduating. Other than Yao Shue, a few other girls in the village who were jealous of her were also spreading lies. The girl was jealous of her good looks, the love of her family, and the fact that she didn't have to work and was able to study well. The boy was simply jealous of her studies, which caused them to get criticized all the time. However, at this moment, everyone was guessing that Yao Shue was the culprit. Now that the dates were matched, it immediately became irrefutable evidence. Lu Fang knew about it on the same night that it was spread among the Dong family and the Shi family. Lu Fang doted on her children the most in her life. Her daughter-in-law was definitely an outsider. When she heard about this, she immediately rushed home and called Yao Shue out. Is it because you've been fooling around outside? Xiang Xiang only eats good food and doesn't work? Are you slacking off with someone else, Xiang Xiang? Yao Shue was stunned for a moment. When she saw Chu Dongxing walking over in confusion, she immediately shook her head and denied it. She said aggrievedly, "Mom, how could I do that? Before I married you, I already knew that you guys doted on Xiang Xiang. I didn't have any opinions at all. In fact, I thought that it was quite good. How could I slack off outside? Besides, Xiang Xiang has helped me a few times. How could I slack off for her? How dare you say that it's not you? Go outside and listen for yourself. Everyone has spread the news. A few people heard it from you. That's definitely not what you said, but I'm sure that's what you meant. Don't tell me that you knew about it before you got married. If you have any opinions, then don't marry me. Didn't you marry me because I gave you a lot of betrothal gifts? In the few brigades nearby, your betrothal gifts are the best. You still don't want to live your life properly. How dare you talk bad about my daughter? Is your heart black? Lu Fang was furious. She almost pointed at Yao Shue's nose and scolded her. Chu Dongxing frowned and glanced at Yao Shue. Without another word, he strode out of the courtyard. Yao Shue panicked. Brother Dongsheng, I didn't. Where are you going so late at night? Where am I going? Of course, I'm going to ask you clearly. Our family has been living in harmony for so many years. How much trouble have you caused in the 3 months since you married into our family? I won't even say anything bad. I'm really blind to have married you. Lu Fang was really angry. She scolded her a few more times before going to Chu Xiang's room to comfort Chu Xiang. Yao Shue's heart sank. She thought to herself, how dare you not say anything bad? Isn't that bad enough? She took 2 steps toward the door and wanted to chase after Chu Dongsheng. However, when she thought of Lu Fang's words, she was afraid that the people outside were really looking for her. She did not dare to go out rashly. After thinking for a while, she decided to quietly go to Wang Fun's house and ask her outside the courtyard. When Wang Fun's family members saw her, they looked at her as if they were sizing her up. Their gazes made Yao Shue feel very uncomfortable. When Wang Fun came out of the door, she pulled her to the firewood behind the house to hide and asked her what happened. Wang Fun sighed. It's nothing much. It's just that everyone saw that Chu Xiang was very capable and could endure hardships. She also had a very good temperament. Everyone was surprised. When they thought of her reputation of being lazy and gluttonous, they wondered who was the one who spread this nonsense. I don't know why, but later on, everyone thought that it was you who spread the rumors. In the past, no one knew what Chu Xiang was like. It was only after you married into our family that she had such a reputation. Don't take it to heart. Don't you know those people? They're all blind. Yao Shue saw that Wang Fun's words of comfort were filled with schadenfreude. She almost laughed out loud. Yao Shue was even angrier, but she could not be bothered to argue with her. She said unhappily, a bunch of idiots only know how to make up lies. All right, I got it. You can go back. I'm going back too. Yao Shue left, but Wang Fun pulled a long face behind her. What the hell? Who's the idiot here? Over the past few days, Yao Shue had been bad-mouthing Chu Xiang in front of Wang Fun, and Wang Fun had played a huge role in spreading such a rumor. She was the one who leaked Yao Shue's words, and Yao Shue was clearly scolding her. At this moment, Yao Shue was also suspecting her. She regretted her carelessness when she wanted to ruin Chu Xiang's reputation. At that time, she wanted to let Chu Xiang be ridiculed. But now, she was the one who got the bad karma. This was how it was in the village. When the villagers spread the rumors, even if you had 100 mouths, you wouldn't be able to find out the truth, unless the facts spoke louder than words. For example, Chu Xiang had used her actions to get rid of her reputation as a lazy person. However, there was no way she could get rid of this suspicion. She could not possibly praise Chu Xiang whenever she met anyone. She could not possibly pull Chu Xiang to pretend that they were sisters. Even if she wanted to, she would need someone to cooperate with her. Chu Xiang probably hated her to death now. However, she couldn't be blamed for being careless. How could she have thought that Chu Xiang would go to work and do it so well? There was no one else on the road. She frowned and couldn't figure it out. After holding it in for a while, she couldn't help but mutter. She didn't work in the fields in her previous life. She quit when she became a teacher and was angered by the students. Why is she working this time? Did I remember wrongly? No. The heaven and earth mirror had been following her. When she muttered, Chu Xiang immediately exposed her. So she was reborn. Chu Xiang understood. With her personality, she definitely wouldn't have used such underhanded methods in her previous life. She must have quarreled with Lu Fang when she was dissatisfied. After quarreling, the relationship between husband and wife would be ruined. Looking at her attitude, Chu Xiang knew that in the end, she didn't have a good life, but the Chu family did. She was reborn and wanted to seize the good life. She only wanted a man, and didn't want a mother-in-law or sister-in-law. Therefore, she wanted to take advantage of the time when everyone was still in the village. It seemed that she succeeded. She was ruthless. Not only did she ruin the original owner's reputation, but she also killed the original owner. Chu Xiang specially looked at the stone. It was definitely smeared with something, most likely oil. Yao Shui wanted to kill the original owner. Even if she didn't die, she would suffer greatly. After all, the original owner was afraid of water and didn't know how to swim. If the original owner died, how sad would Lu Fang be? Most people wouldn't be able to bear the grief of a white-haired person dying before the death of a black-haired person. In this era, people didn't have good nutrition and worked hard all year round. It was possible that the original owner would die with the original owner. Even if she didn't, Lu Fang would definitely fall seriously ill and lose the energy to work in the future. By then, wouldn't it be easier for Yao Shui to deal with Lu Fang? As long as these weren't exposed, Yao Shui, as a reborn person who had seen the world, would have more foresight than ordinary women. With Chu Dongsheng by her side, she wouldn't be afraid of not being able to warm up the stone. Unfortunately, she was unlucky enough to meet Chu Xiang halfway through her plan. When Chu Xiang first transmigrated, she spat in her face. Chu Xiang was a 10,000-year-old devil cultivator. The only reason she didn't kill her on the spot was that she had become kinder over the years. Now that she knew what was going on, Chu Xiang straightforwardly expressed her attitude. I won't acknowledge this kind of sister-in-law. My friend and I are also together. Yao Shui was the one who spread this rumor. She didn't like me and said bad things about me outside. I was kind enough to treat her as a family member and helped her work. My kindness was fed to the dogs. Don't expect me to call her sister-in-law in the future. Lu Fang was originally very angry, but when she heard her words, she didn't react. After a while she said, "What? You want to break off relations? Then there's still your brother." Chu Dongsheng had already gone out to ask around and came back just in time to hear this. It was the first time he saw his sister so angry. He stood at the door for a while before entering with a gloomy face. Sister is right. Don't talk to her in the future. She is her, and I am me. How can Xiang not acknowledge me? Mom, don't worry. I'll send her back to the Yao family later. Lu Fang frowned. Yes, we should send her back and have a good talk with the Yao family. What does this mean? Does she have a grudge against us by marrying a troublemaker? Tell her to go back and reflect. If she doesn't do well, she shouldn't come back. Yes, it's best if she doesn't come back in the future, Chu Dongsheng agreed. Lu Fang said it out of anger. She thought that Chu Dongsheng was also saying it out of anger, so she continued to criticize Yao Shui. However, Chu Xiang saw clearly that Chu Dongsheng was serious. That look in his eyes and tone was not just to scare people. That courage, that temper, that was really impressive. In this era where it was difficult for ordinary people to accept divorce, Lu Fang had never really thought of not acknowledging her daughter-in-law. She was actually not someone who would torture her daughter-in-law. If she had to blame someone, she would blame herself for being blind to have married such a person. Chu Xiang did not try to persuade her. Anyway, her attitude was firm. She was angry, and it was very serious. She would never acknowledge her as her sister-in-law again. No matter how scheming one was, there was nothing one could do when they met someone who was loved by everyone. Before Yao Shui could explain herself at home, Chu Dongsheng stuffed a bag into her arms and pulled her to the brigade next door. Yao Shui panicked. Brother Dongsheng, what are you doing? Where are you going? Chu Dongsheng said in a deep voice. The Chu family temple can't accommodate you. Go back to your parents' house. No. I'm not going back. Brother Dongsheng, let go of me. You've misunderstood me. I really didn't say those words. Others were blind. Just like how they framed Chu Xiang previously, I was wrong too. Yao Shui was furious. They were both framed, but why was there such a huge difference in treatment between her and Chu Xiang? Chu Dongsheng did not care about her at all. She cried and struggled along the way. But how could she be stronger than Chu Dongsheng? She was being dragged to the brigade next door. Many people heard the commotion and came out to see what was going on. Chu Dongsheng only sent her back to her parents' house. There was no need to say anything else. Everyone knew why he was sending her back to her parents' house. What hurt Yao Shui was that they actually thought that Chu Dongxing did the right thing. Marriage was to lead a good life. Who would ruin their sister-in-law's reputation the moment they got married? She had to go to the Yu family to seek justice for this matter. Yao Shui had never been so embarrassed. At this moment, she really regretted it. Why did she have to deal with her sister-in-law after her rebirth? She should have gotten her man Rao Xan first. However, it was too late to regret now. Chapter 300. Yao Shui was dragged all the way back to the Yao family by Chu Dongxing. Not only did the villagers from the Dawn Brigade see it, but so did the villagers from the Permanent Brigade. Chu Dongxing was still angry. Yao Shui had ruined his sister's reputation, and he had no intention of defending Yao Shui's reputation. By the time he reached the Yao family's house, he had already understood what had happened. The villagers who had followed them to join in the fun looked at Yao Shui strangely. Chu Dongxing knocked on the door of the Yao family's house and pushed Yao Shui in. He repeated what had happened and ignored Yao Shui and the Yao family's attempts to stop him. He pushed them aside and strode out with a sullen face. Yao Shui's sister-in-law was the first to speak up. Are you crazy? The Chu family is famous for doting on their daughters. Who doesn't know that? What are you trying to do? Why are you scolding them the moment you enter? Her second sister-in-law also scolded with a stern face. Can't you think of your nieces first? If you do this, others will think that the Yao family doesn't know how to educate their daughters. Mother Yao hurriedly stopped her. Stop it. Don't you feel embarrassed? It's her fault. She was sent home by a man after being married for 3 months. Not only did she embarrass the Yao family, but she also embarrassed the entire Permanent Brigade. We have to make things clear today. Otherwise, everyone will think that the Yao family is evil. Mom, why can't you differentiate between the family and outsiders? Yao Shui's sister-in-law shouted loudly. It was true that dirty linen should not be aired in public, but there was no such thing as a dirty linen in the countryside. Since this scandal had already been publicized, they had to make things clear in public. Otherwise, the Yao family's reputation would be ruined. Although Mother Yao was unhappy with Yao Shui's actions, it was true. She saw more and more people gathering in front of her house, and did not know what to do. Yao Shui wiped her tears. They're framing me. How can Yao Shui and second sister-in-law believe that? Do you treat me as a family member? Even if I'm married, my surname is Yao. Why don't you treat me as a member of the Yao family? Yao Shui's sister-in-law and second sister-in-law immediately went forward to pull her back and wanted to clarify things with her. Yao Shui hurriedly hid behind her mother and said righteously, I won't admit to something I didn't do. Previously, those people accused Chu Xiang of not knowing how to work. Now they're accusing me. Not only are you not helping me, you want to deny it? Are you still my family? We're just quarreling. Of course, I know that my man loves my sister-in-law more. I don't want to compete with him. I'll come back when he asks me to. I'll go back in 2 days. After saying that, Yao Shui ran into the house she lived in before she got married and locked the door. Eldest sister-in-law Yao and second sister-in-law Yao rushed over and knocked on the door, but there was no response. They were so angry that they yelled at Mother Yao a few times that she was outrageous. Then, they shook their hands and returned to the house. Many villagers were watching the show. Seeing how angry Chu Dongxing was, everyone felt that Yao Shui was definitely not innocent. However, seeing how unyielding Yao Shui was, everyone wondered if the Dawn Brigade had misunderstood Yao Shui. Since the main character wasn't around, they quickly dispersed after exchanging a few words. However, the news of Yao Shui being sent back to her parents' home still spread. No matter what the reason was, Yao Shui had become a joke. There were couples who ran back to their parents' home after quarreling, but she had never seen someone like her who was sent back by a man not long after she got married. There were also girls who judged others by their own standards and secretly gossiped with their sisters. Yao Shui was probably jealous of Chu Xiang and spread the news behind her back. In the past, Yao Shui was arrogant and thought that she could get along well with Chu Xiang just because she was pretty. When their words spread, many people agreed with them. They felt that they had found the source of the matter. Most people still believed them. After all, although the Chu family doted on Chu Xiang, they had never caused any trouble in the past 18 years. Even if they had conflicts with outsiders, they were reasonable. It was impossible for them to malign Yao Shui. This kind of thing was not uncommon in the village. Every family lived together. How could they not quarrel when they gathered together? There were also people who gossiped behind their backs. If they were caught, they would definitely make a fuss. There was no need for concrete evidence, and it was not a big deal. However, it was different in the Chu family. Chu Xiang felt that since Yao Shui didn't want her to be a good sister-in-law, she had to let Yao Shui experience what it meant to be a good sister-in-law. Otherwise, it would be a waste of Yao Shui's opportunity to be reborn. She didn't need to do anything else. Her attitude was very strong and firm. Her mother and brother would not be soft-hearted. She was not afraid of Yao Shui making waves. This person was definitely not a smart person. Otherwise, she could have lived well in her previous life. Why would she wait until she was reborn? A smart person would not rely on others when they were reborn. They would definitely rely on themselves. There was only one reason for Yao Shui to marry into a wealthy family. That was because she did not have any ability. What could a commoner do after being reborn? Of course, she was still an ordinary commoner. There were exceptions, but that was only an exception. Therefore, marrying a powerful person to enjoy wealth and glory was the easiest path. The reason why Yao Shui made a move on the original owner was probably because her marriage went so smoothly. Yao Shui returned to her maternal home. The atmosphere in the Chu family was gloomy for a night. With Chu Xiang making them laugh, they naturally did not have time to think about Yao Shui. They were afraid that Chu Xiang would feel uncomfortable. This time, because Yao Shui was not around, Chu Xiang took over her plot of land. Separated from the family, it was close to the educated youth's plot of land. When Li Hongjun saw it, he deliberately moved closer to Chu Xiang while working. After a while, when he was close, he raised his head as if he had just seen someone. "Oh, it's Comrade Chu Xiang. Hello, it's rare to see you. My name is Li Hongjun. I'm an educated youth from the capital." These days, most people had never left their hometown. The capital's name had a fatal attraction to them. Usually when he came out, he would receive expressions of curiosity, admiration, amazement, inferiority, and so on. However, Chu Xiang did not raise her head. She concentrated on her work and said seriously, "We are not allowed to talk during working hours." Li Hongjun was stunned. He wanted to continue, but Chu Xiang had already walked to the other side. If he continued to follow, it would be obvious that he was deliberately approaching her. Li Hongjun pretended that nothing had happened and continued to work. However, he was unhappy. Wasn't she just a village girl? No matter how beautiful she was, could she be a fairy? Born in this remote village, she was just a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. How could she give him a cold shoulder? Ridiculous. However, when he saw Chu Dongxing immediately came to help Chu Xiang after finishing his work, he felt that if he could really marry Chu Xiang, his life would definitely be much better. At least, Chu Dongxing and Lu Fang would take care of his food and drink. When he did not want to work, they could not do anything to him. In order to get work points and rations, they would help him work. The more Li Hongjun thought about it, the more beautiful it was. He was thinking about ways to get close to Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang finished her work and walked to the ridge of the field to drink water. Huo Wenkai happened to walk over and saw a big bug crawling over to her feet. He subconsciously picked it up with a tool. Chu Xiang put down the kettle, raised her eyebrows and smiled. "Thank you, Comrade Huo Wenkai." Huo Wenkai did not think much about it just now. Now that she thanked him, he felt strange. How could she be afraid of bugs when she was working in the field? What was he doing just now? He felt uncomfortable and looked away calmly. "You're welcome." Chu Xiang looked him up and down. "You finished your work so quickly and went to herd cows? You're really good. You did a good job too. I'm leaving." Huo Wenkai looked at her from the corner of his eyes and quickly left. When Li Hongjun saw this scene, his sloppy expression suddenly darkened. It turned out that this woman was not a blockhead. She just liked Huo Wenkai's handsome face. How could he not be better than that bastard? Of course, the heaven and earth mirror reported this kind of gloomy gaze to Chu Xiang immediately. However, Chu Xiang had seen all kinds of big scenes. She was not interested in this kind of small fry at all. After drinking the water, she went to ask Lu Fang what to pay attention to when planting crops. The villagers nearby saw that she was eager to learn, and were willing to talk to her more when they were free. She was a person who always got first place in the exams. She was a cultured person. She sincerely asked everyone for advice and listened very seriously. This made everyone feel very satisfied and even more enthusiastic. Chu Xiang was really learning. She learned all the plants in the village and combined them with the planting and care of medicinal herbs. Slowly, she formed her own views on planting, and then experimented in her own backyard. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing expressed their support for her. Even if it looked like children playing house, Chu Xiang was still a child in their eyes. What was wrong with playing with mud? Chu Xiang also learned to swim from Lu Fang. Although she learned in the river, with Chu Dongxing keeping watch, no one dared to go there. Chu Xiang learned in a short time. She swam very well and even caught a fish with a bamboo basket. She swam ashore and put on her coat. She held the bamboo basket and smiled. "Mom. Brother. Look, I caught a fish." The two looked at the happy smile on her face and immediately smiled happier than her. "Mom will make braised fish for you when we go back." Chu Dongxing went forward and took the bamboo basket. Even if his sister was very good at work, he was not willing to let her carry things. Chu Xiang held Lu Fang's arm and walked while saying, "Mom, let me do it. We can make steamed fish. The taste is light and not easy to spread. Otherwise, people will gossip if we always make delicious food." At this time, simplicity was a virtue. Eating delicious food was greedy and would be despised by people. It would not be good to go out. Lu Fang heard her daughter agree. Her daughter was right in everything. When it came to making fish, she suddenly remembered that Yao Shui liked to eat fish. She thought that it was already past 5 or 6 years, so she said to Chu Dongxing unhappily, "We are making fish today. You can go and bring Yao Shui back. After all, she is married. It is not right to keep her at home." Unexpectedly, Chu Xiang immediately let go of her hand and looked unhappy. "Mom, you bring her back to eat the fish I made? I caught and cooked the fish. I won't let her have a sip of the soup." Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing were surprised. Chu Xiang said righteously, "I have never been tricked like this since I was born." Thinking about it, she said that she was busy outside. "I was confused. That was why I listened to her and went to wash the clothes. How could it be so coincidental? No one else has ever slipped. I am careful enough. After knowing that she tricked me, I felt that she did it on purpose. She might have done something to the stone." This time, Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing did not leave. They looked at her in shock. Lu Fang said seriously, Xiang, you can't be blind. Do you really think there is something wrong with the stone?" Chu Xiang nodded heavily. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing's faces instantly darkened. Chapter 301. The original owner of the body had a good personality. She was never stubborn and would never lie. Therefore, even if Chu Xiang and Yao Shui had a conflict now, Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing still took her word seriously. They couldn't find out what was on the stone, but what kind of slippery substance could be applied in the countryside? Wasn't it just oil? Lu Fang frowned as she recalled. During that time, Yao Shui had been cooking, so it was easy to steal some oil. Chu Dongxing remembered that his sister came back from the clinic. After all, there was a difference between men and women. He didn't go to the bedside to check. It was Yao Shui and his sister who looked much better. He was worried about the clothes that were washed away by the river, so he went to the riverside with Yao Shui to find clothes. However, when he returned home, he found that his sister had a high fever and was unconscious. He hurriedly went to borrow a handcart. When his sister woke up and saw that she was fine, he didn't think much about it. What if Yao Shui did it on purpose like Chu Xiang? Then Yao Shui deliberately misled him and delayed the time when he sent Chu Xiang to the hospital. High fever. There were cases of pneumonia that couldn't be treated, and there were also cases of dementia. It was a big deal that his sister could wake up. Chu Dongxing and Lu Fang were more and more afraid. The more they thought about it, the more they felt that this was the case. When they were short of food, they couldn't hold back their anger and asked their men to go to the permanent team. Chu Xiang didn't go. She didn't want to see Yao Shui, so she stayed at home to cook steamed fish. However, several neighbors who were close to Lu Fang and relatives of the Chu family went with her. There were more than a dozen men and women. Wouldn't such a grandiose scene startle everyone? Some of them didn't go with them and went to Chu Xiang's house to ask her. Chu Xiang told them that she fished the fish and that her mother missed Yao Shui so much that she went to fetch Rao first. Then she felt uncomfortable and suspected that she fell into the water that time. The women and girls were all shocked when they heard this. Gossiping was a very common thing, but deliberately causing someone to fall into the water was equivalent to killing someone. Who didn't know that Chu Xiang couldn't swim? Every summer, she would hear Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing telling her to stay away from the river. How could Yao Shui not know? Every time someone went to the river to wash clothes, no one in the village had ever fallen into the water from the stone. Chu Xiang was afraid of water, so how could she be so careless? Unless the stone was smeared with something. The few of them were surprised and curious as they chatted with Chu Xiang in and out of the kitchen. They asked her how Yao Shui treated her after she entered the house. Of course, Chu Xiang was telling the truth. She even emphasized how she felt every time Yao Shui finished speaking. Just based on Yao Shui's words alone, there seemed to be no problem. But when they thought about it, they felt that Yao Shui was too good at stabbing people's hearts. She said things like, "You can't do it. I can do it faster. Marrying a man is better than living a happy life," and so on. They felt that Yao Shui was purposely telling Chu Xiang these things. The few of them knew that Yao Shui must have scolded them indirectly. After a lot of things had a beginning, there would naturally be people who would fill it up later. After waiting for Chu Xiang to finish, they still felt that it wasn't enough and started on their own. They went to visit other families and dragged them along to continue. Then, they remembered that there was something wrong with Yao Shui. Thinking about it, it was very strange. As it developed, some of them felt that Yao Shui's words had a deeper meaning. It was just that they didn't come out because they were a family. A young lady ran over to tell Chu Xiang these words. Chu Xiang looked at the fire in the kitchen and nodded her head indifferently. She said, "So this is how she treats me outside. Then I didn't wrongly accuse her. Anyway, I don't want to acknowledge her as my sister-in-law. I still want my life." The young lady spread her words again, and the villagers discussed even more intensely. She definitely couldn't acknowledge her as her sister-in-law. She looked so pretty but was so scheming. If it wasn't for Chu Xiang's luck, wouldn't she have turned into a retard by now? When Chu Xiang was finally left alone at home, she closed the kitchen door and went into her space to lie on the comfortable bed to relieve her tiredness. Yao Shui felt that it was easy to stir up trouble in the village these 2 years, because everyone's thoughts were simple. That's right, because of this, it was easy for Chu Xiang to get her back. What was originally a half-truth could become 80% true after being spread by the villagers. What's more, Yao Shui had never taken her fellow villagers seriously and always looked down on them. Whatever she did, she would naturally leave some traces behind. Once these traces were discovered, it would be enough to turn a half-truth into a 100% truth. Chu Xiang sent out the heaven and earth mirror to check on Yao Shui. Lu Fang and Chu Dongxing were discovered as soon as they entered the permanent brigade. Their entourage shocked everyone. Immediately, someone went to look for their brigade leader. Many people also came to watch the show and asked what was going on. Lu Fang's people immediately spread the news. The people in the permanent brigade were stunned. They immediately thought that it was impossible. Yao Shui and Chu Xiang didn't have any grudges. No matter how close the two sisters-in-law were, she wouldn't deliberately harm others. However, the people in the Dawn Brigade were too angry and too self-righteous. It made the people in the permanent brigade panic. If this was true, their brigade would be greatly embarrassed. The Yao family was eating and was shocked when they saw such a large group of people coming over. Elder brother Yao immediately opened the door and greeted them. "Auntie Dongsheng, what's going on?" Lu Fang said angrily. "What's going on? Where's Yao Shui? Tell her to get out here." Yao Shui had been eating in the house. When she heard the commotion, she ran out and looked at them in shock. Brother Dongsheng, what's going on? I'm really innocent. Chu Dongxing narrowed his eyes and stared at her. He walked up to her step by step and questioned. That sister fell into the water. Did you deliberately let her go to the river? Did you smear something on the stone? Yao Shui had never thought that this matter would be discovered by others. This was something that she had done on her own, and no one had seen it. She denied it flatly. No, I didn't. However, because she was too shocked, Chu Dongsheng, who was staring at her, saw her panic. Chu Dongsheng believed in his own speculation and judgment. He said angrily, No? Then you insisted on washing the clothes right after the rain. You even told my sister that you wouldn't have time to feed the chickens and cook after washing the clothes. When did my family force you to feed the chickens and cook? Lu Fang strode forward and grabbed her. When did you not wash 7 or 8 pieces of clothes together? Then why did you have to wash that one piece of clothes so diligently? You didn't even dry it after washing it. You obviously did it on purpose. Also, Chu Xiang came back from the health center. Did you and Dongxing have nothing to do with each other? *T. My daughter had a high fever, and I had to ask the neighbors to help me find Dongxing. Are you blind? How dare you say that you have nothing to do with Dongxing? Chu Dongxing said coldly. Yao Shui, you deliberately sent me away at that time, didn't you? Just to prevent me from sending my sister to the hospital? Do you know how serious a high fever is? My sister couldn't wake up even if I called her. If she turned stupid or developed pneumonia, her life would be ruined. Yao Shui shook her head in horror. I didn't. I really didn't. I saw that she had fallen asleep. I thought she was fine. Didn't she recover later? She did recover later, but you can ask so many people here. Who would send the only man in the family away at that time? Lu Fang asked loudly. Lu Fang's friends immediately echoed loudly. No one would do such a thing. Chu Xiang did recover later, but when she had a high fever, Lu Fang was scared out of her wits. Who knew that she would recover at that time? How did Yao Shui know? Therefore, Yao Shui's words earlier were still hiding something. The Yao family understood. The permanent brigade understood. The brigade leader who rushed over also understood. Everyone's expression turned ugly. Father Yao immediately said, This is not right. You can't accuse Yao Shui without any evidence. Harming others is a serious crime. Mother Yao also pushed Lu Fang away and shouted, Your family is too much. You sent my daughter back without even asking. Today you came to accuse her. What are you trying to do? Don't tell me you're trying to blame us for the medical fees? Lu Fang rolled up her sleeves and pointed at her nose. I finally know why Yao Shui is like this. It turns out that you parents are like this. Bah. Who does she think she is? How dare we accuse her? Look at how poor your family is. I gave so many betrothal gifts, but your dowry is not presentable. Am I blind enough to blame you? Why would I deliberately compensate a daughter-in-law for the medical fees? You should find a better excuse to quibble. Yao Shui said anxiously, I didn't do it. No one can accuse me. If not, show me evidence. Brother Dongsheng, who's talking nonsense with you? How can you believe an outsider and not me? Don't you know how I treat you? Even if you dote on your sister, you can't accuse me indiscriminately. How could Chu Dongxing have any feelings for this daughter-in-law who he did not know before marriage, and did not interact much after marriage? He had already sorted out the matter. If Yao Shui was not too suspicious, why would he bring people here? Chu Dongxing sneered. Evidence? If there is evidence, I'll send you to the police station to be shot. Why would I let you stand here and talk? The word death by firing squad stunned everyone who wanted to help. People were still very afraid and taboo about this. Even the captain hesitated for a moment. These two families seemed to have become enemies. He did not want to offend both sides if he went to mediate before figuring out the situation. While he hesitated, eldest brother Yao and second brother Yao had already pushed Chu Dongxing angrily. If you don't have evidence, then what the hell are you talking about? My sister married you to live a good life, not to be bullied by you. Chu Dongxing was strong and strong. He pushed one person with each hand and flipped the table. I'll let you know what bullying is today. How dare you touch my sister? Do you think I'm dead? The dishes and dishes spilled all over the floor. The sound of the dishes breaking suddenly hit everyone's heart. This was like a signal, and the two sides immediately started fighting. Yao Shui screamed and wanted to hide, but she was caught and hit a few times by her daughter-in-law. Lu Fang and Lu Fang's sisters were fighting with Mother Yao and the rest. The men were much more efficient. The two Yao brothers were not a match for Chu Dongsheng. He could not hit Father Yao and beat the two Yao brothers until they could not get up. Yao Shui had made a mistake, and the Yao family's words just now were clearly covering up for her. No one would be curious about why Yao Shui would do such a thing. What else could it be? Based on the Yao family's character, they were all the same. The villagers solved problems in such a simple and violent way. When the brigade leader shouted for the men to separate them, the Yao family was already badly injured. Since the brigade leader had no evidence, it might not be Yao Shui who did it. It was better to take a step back and live a good life. Chu Dongxing and Lu Fang both looked at Yao Shui. Chu Dongxing's face was cold. Impossible. The Chu family doesn't want this vicious woman. Chapter 302. Looking at Chu Dongxing's cold expression, Yao Shui felt as if she had returned to her previous life. It was the same in her previous life. Every time she quarreled with her mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Chu Dongxing would treat her coldly. She hated the mother and daughter, and blamed Chu Dongxing for not loving her. That was why she chose to marry Ingjun and doted on Li Hongjun, who knew that she would bump into Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang immediately made a scene and insisted that Chu Dongxing divorce her. She was abandoned after half a year of marriage, and became the laughingstock of the community. What did she do wrong? She was the belle of the village, and Chu Xiang was the only woman in the village who was more outstanding than her. She married into the Chu family, but did not have a good life. The three members of the family did not like her. Was she supposed to swallow her pride? It was all Chu Xiang's fault. Chu Xiang opposed her, and even forced Chu Dongxing to divorce her. At that time, Chu Dongxing was so cold and stood on Chu Xiang's side unconditionally. She had been reborn and remarried to Chu Dongxing. She had become gentle and considerate. She did not quarrel with her mother-in-law and sister-in-law. Why did things still turn out this way? Why was she discovered even though she was so secretive? Could it be that Chu Xiang was reborn as well? The speculation of being reborn made Yao Shui shiver and sober up. She remembered the urgency in front of her. Her eyes immediately turned red and tears fell like rain. Her face was full of grievance. I didn't do it. Brother Dongsheng, you think too badly of me. We're husband and wife. Why won't you even listen to a word of explanation? I'm a good gambler. Why would I kill my sister-in-law? I'm not crazy. Chu Dongsheng raised his hand and motioned for her to shut up. Then, he turned to the onlookers with a cold expression. Today's matter is very ugly. Both my mother-in-law and father-in-law are right. It's better that this matter is over. If we can't find evidence, everything will be in vain. However, the Chu family has been living a good life for more than 10 years. We definitely have not quarreled and have been stable. Ever since Yao Shui came to our Chu clan has been in a state of chaos. We don't care about the incompatibility of our birth characters, but I feel that there are always incompatibility between people. Yao Shui and our Chu clan are incompatible. Today, everyone, please be my witness. I want to divorce Yao Shui. Everyone was stunned. Even Lu Fang was stunned. Divorce? Not to mention the two brigades, even in the county, no one had ever divorced. But on second thought, her daughter had almost lost her life because of this woman. This woman must not be allowed to live. Perhaps they were really incompatible, and this woman was here to jinx their family. Yao Shui was the first to react and shouted, I don't agree. I've been wronged. You can't divorce me just because of a few words from others. Otherwise, I won't be able to clear my name even if I jump into the Yellow River. I might as well jump into the river and die. Chu Dongsheng. When your sister was being spread rumors by outsiders, you protected her. Now that your wife is being spread by outsiders, you want to divorce her? Who are you to bully me? I don't agree. The others also began to persuade Chu Dongsheng. Yao Shue's face was pale as she cried. She looked a little pitiful. Furthermore, she had always felt that she had been wronged. Hence, she wanted to help Yao Shui even more. Regardless of whether it was true or false, who was right and who was wrong, how could it escalate to the point of divorce? Mrs. Yao also became strong-willed. She scolded Lu Fang. The Chu family is heartless. You married my daughter and bullied her. Now that you've slept with her, you're slandering her and even want to divorce her. You're forcing her to her death. I'll fight it out with you. Chu Dongsheng pulled Lu Fang behind him and pushed Mrs. Yao away. He glanced at the Yao family and said, "It's fine if you don't want a divorce. The Chu family will not open the door for Yao Shui. If you have the ability, you can take good care of her. Remember, don't go out at night. If you get beaten up like this, your lifespan will be shortened." Mr. Yao's heart skipped a beat. He glared at him and said, "Are you threatening us? Why are you going to beat us up?" Chu Dongsheng sneered. "I'm just reminding you out of kindness. After all, didn't you insist on having me as your son-in-law? Then I'll have to be filial to you, as long as you don't regret it." After Chu Dongsheng said that, he asked the villagers to leave. The Yao family was livid. However, they couldn't win against him in an argument or a fight. They didn't dare to chase after him. After the captain asked everyone to leave, Mr. Yao raised his hand and gave Yao Shui a slap. "Look at what you've done. The Yao family's reputation has been tarnished today. Did you or did you not do that?" Yao Shui covered her face and lowered her head. Her eyes were full of resentment, but her voice was full of grievance. "Dad, you don't believe me either? I've been wronged. They're making such a fuss. Maybe they want the betrothal gifts back." Betrothal gifts? The Yao family looked at each other and felt that it was possible. The Chu family had given more betrothal gifts than other families. They might have regretted it and wanted to find an excuse to take it back. Mrs. Yao even said sarcastically, "Then you should go back quickly. At least don't eat our family's food, right?" Of course, they didn't believe that Yao Shui wanted to kill someone. Now that they were in pain from the beating, they couldn't take it anymore. They cursed and went back to their houses. Yao Shui heaved a sigh of relief. She had managed to bluff her way through, but she felt uneasy and couldn't think of a solution. She could only secretly avoid them and go to the Chu family. She was still a little confused. She didn't know why things had suddenly turned out this way. Chu Dongsheng and the rest returned to the Dawn Brigade. Naturally, the matter here spread. It happened to be mealtime, and everyone was talking about it while eating. Lu Fang also talked about it with Chu Xiang at the dining table. Chu Xiang saw Yao Shui run to the backyard of the Chu family through the heaven and earth mirror. She sneaked in through the gap in the fence and walked to the back of the house. She happened to hear their conversation and stopped there to eavesdrop. Chu Xiang laughed. "It's good to get a divorce. If that kind of person continues to stay in our house, we won't be able to sleep well. Today, I heard many people complaining to me. It turns out that Yao Shui has been bad-mouthing me and Mom outside. She doesn't speak up, and it's just that people misunderstand. When she hears that we're not good to her, she doesn't refute it. Such people's behavior is too disgusting. I also heard that in the past I was good at my studies in school, and she was bad at it. However, we were the prettiest, so people compared us. In the end, there was one time when she got first place in her math test. I've always been first in the cohort, so she hated me. She told others that I'm a bookworm and have become stupid from studying. It's useless to not let me study for the college entrance examination. I just want to use studying to slack off and not work." "There's such a thing?" Lu Fang was even angrier when she heard this, but also more worried. "If only I had known. I wouldn't have married such a person for your brother. What should I do? My son has suffered." Chu Dongsheng ate the steamed fish nonchalantly. "It's okay. I have many brothers. If one of them goes, I guarantee that they'll be beaten up until their parents can't recognize them. She's eating and drinking in the Yao family all day, and it's no different from getting a divorce. I don't believe that the Yao family can take it. They'll soon find out that it's better to get a divorce quickly than not. If they marry her again, they can get another betrothal gift. Isn't their family like that?" Chu Xiang gave him a thumbs up. Brother, you've seen through them. That's a good move. Lu Fang hesitated and said, Dongsheng, if you do that, they probably won't like Yao Shui anymore. They'll bully her. You're gossiping, you. Chu Dongsheng waved his hand. Didn't they used to be lazy and not diligent in the past? What's the impact? I want a divorce. It's not like I want to do anything. Why would they care about this? Then what if Yao Shui really jumps into the river? I seem to have heard of a village that wanted a divorce and jumped into the river. Chu Xiang laughed. Mom, don't worry. Even if she jumps, she won't die. She definitely can't bear to die. If she really jumps, none of you are allowed to do anything. Do you trust me? Yes. Eat the fish quickly. Don't let it get cold. Lu Fang and Chu Dongsheng also felt that Yao Shui couldn't bear to die. After spending 3 months together, even if Yao Shui was good at pretending, they could more or less see her character. Both of them agreed with Chu Xiang's words, and even picked up some fish for Chu Xiang. It was hot, but Yao Shui felt cold all over. She didn't expect to hear these words when she sneaked back. Chu Xiang didn't give her any face at all. He even thought of such a mean thing. Usually, Chu Xiang would call her sister-in-law and help her from time to time. It turned out that she was doing this behind her back and didn't allow them to do anything even if she jumped into the river. She was right. Chu Xiang was a top-notch woman. She was so angry that her whole body trembled. She remembered that in her previous life, after she divorced Chu Dongsheng, she married Li Hongjun because everyone knew about her and Li Hongjun. She was often criticized by others. It wasn't until the college entrance examination was reinstated and the students returned home that she felt proud. She thought that she would be a citizen of Beijing in the future and could finally straighten her back in front of the Chu family. Unexpectedly, Chu Xiang was admitted to a university in Beijing and Chu Dongsheng followed her to find a job in Beijing. Later on, she met Chu Dongsheng again. Chu Dongsheng was driving a car and had become a big boss. He married Chu Xiang's classmate, a beautiful college student. He was gentle and considerate to his woman. It was obvious that he doted on his wife. At that time, she had already had 2 miscarriages. She quarreled with Li Hongjuan's mother and was kicked out of the Li family. After a long time, she was poor and had stomach cancer. In the hospital, she saw Chu Dongsheng's wife giving birth to twins. Chu Dongsheng didn't care about the children. He only cared about his wife. Lu Fang and Chu Xiang each carried a child and talked to the woman with a smile. Their family was happy and harmonious. It hurt Yao Shui's eyes. She took the medicine and left the hospital in a daze. She didn't want to be hit by a car and return to the past. She tried. She tried to get along well with Lu Fang and Chu Xiang after she got married. They were obviously very close to that woman, weren't they? But she couldn't. Every time she saw Chu Xiang, she would be reminded of the way Chu Xiang had exposed her in her previous life. She would also remember how Chu Xiang had asked Chu Dongsheng to divorce her. She had tried very hard, but Lu Fang and Chu Xiang were still indifferent to her. It was as if there was a barrier between them. This made her hate them even more. Why were they so nice to that woman but so cold to her? She deliberately catered to Chu Dongsheng's preferences. In the past 3 months, she had felt that Chu Dongsheng was slowly accepting her. But now everything was ruined. Because of Chu Xiang's attitude, Chu Dongsheng only had disgust for her now. The Chu Xiang now and the Chu Xiang in her previous life seemed to overlap. Yao Shui's heart was full of hatred. Her reputation in both lives was ruined by Chu Xiang. She must let Chu Xiang have a taste of her own medicine. Chu Xiang was eating the fish belly. Through the heaven and earth mirror, she saw Yao Shui sneaking away. She said casually, "Brother, the fence in the backyard is too thin. Nail it tightly." Chu Dongsheng nodded. "Okay, I promise not even a mouse can get in." Chapter 303. Yao Shui did not sleep the entire night. The next morning, she ran to the Dawn Brigade, wanting to enter from the backyard to explain to Chu Dongsheng. Unexpectedly, when she arrived at the Chu family's house, she found that the fence had been repaired. It was tight, and there was even a row of thick thorns on top. She could not crawl in. There was no way she could climb in. Yao Shue's face turned pale. She walked to the front and knocked on the door. She even shouted, "Brother Dongsheng! Brother Dongsheng, you can't do this to me. Open the door. This is my home too. You can't stop me from going home. I'm really wronged. I'm so wronged." The villagers had already guessed that the Yao family would react to such a big matter. Sure enough, Yao Shui came back so quickly. She even knocked on the door and complained. The neighbors nearby heard her and looked over. However, it was useless. Chu Dongxing did not respond to Yao Shui. He opened the door and threw a bag at Yao Shui. He said coldly, "Everyone knows what you've done. No matter how much you pester me, I won't let you step into the Chu family's house. This is yours. Take it and get lost. Don't be an eyesore in front of my house." No matter how much Yao Shui wanted to live a good life with him, she could not stand being slapped in the face again and again. She could not help but be angry. "Chu Dongsheng, what right do you have to treat me like this? You've wronged me. You've gone too far. Aren't you afraid of retribution? Aren't you afraid that retribution will fall on your sister?" Chu Dongsheng had almost lost his sister. When he heard this, anger flashed across his face. He grabbed Yao Shui's collar and gritted his teeth. "If you dare to touch a strand of my sister's hair again, don't blame me for hitting a woman. I'll definitely make you pay back 10 times or 100 times. Get lost." Chu Dongsheng threw her aside. Yao Shui almost fell. She staggered and held onto the wall to steady herself. However, she was afraid of Chu Dongsheng. She did not dare to do anything more. She regretted not holding on to Chu Dongsheng tightly after her rebirth. This man was so gentle and considerate to his wife. If she had held on to his heart, she would have lived a happy life. But what now? He did not listen to her. What should she do? Chu Xiang heard the commotion outside and came out. When she saw Yao Shui, she snorted, "Brother, quickly go back to your room. Don't let her pester you. This kind of person must be divorced. Don't worry, I'll introduce you to a good girl in the future." Yao Shui's pupils shrank as hatred filled her mind. It was the same in her previous life. Chu Xiang asked Chu Dongsheng to get a divorce. Every 2 years, she would introduce girls to Chu Dongsheng. The failure of her marriage with Chu Xiang was all because of Chu Xiang. Yao Shui could no longer hold it in as she pointed at Chu Xiang's nose and scolded, "Chu Xiang, you despicable person. Are you trying to drive a wedge between your brother and sister-in-law because they have a good relationship? What right do you have to ask your brother to divorce? What right do you have to harm me?" Yao Shui even wanted to grab Chu Xiang and hit her. Chu Xiang quickly hid behind Chu Dongsheng and said pitifully, "Brother, she wants to hit me." Chu Dongsheng, of course, immediately shielded Chu Xiang and took a few steps back. Then he pushed Yao Shui's hand away and locked her out of the room. Through the door he said, "You're not part of the Chu family. Stay away from my family. If I find out that you're causing trouble for my sister and mother, I won't let you off." After that, Chu Dongsheng and Chu Xiang went into the house to eat. No matter how much Yao Shui shouted at the door, they ignored her. Many people came to watch the show and even talked to Yao Shui. Some mocked her, and some tried to find out what happened. Yao Shui was so angry that she trembled. She hugged her bag and ran away angrily. She was afraid and angry at the same time. The Chu family did not listen to her. She could not beg for mercy or quarrel with them. She was wronged. They did not even mention this matter and wanted a divorce. There was nothing she could do. No one in the world could stop Chu Dongsheng from getting a divorce. Chu Dongsheng was not even afraid of public opinion. After Chu Xiang drove Yao Shui out of the house, she did not think about her anymore. Today, she was going to the county with Chu Dongsheng. She had not been out of the village since she transmigrated. It was a good opportunity for her to go out for a walk. Although Chu Dongsheng could earn 12 centimeters by working, in fact, he only worked hard to teach Chu Xiang. The rest of the time, he was a little lazy. Occasionally he would ask for leave to set traps in the mountains, hunt secretly, or fish secretly. Then he would go to the county to exchange for things. He always felt that he could not live a good life by working in the fields. It was precisely because he was always lazy and asked for leave in the eyes of others that no one was willing to marry a girl to him. Today, Chu Dongsheng was going to take Chu Xiang to the hospital for a checkup and secretly exchange some things. Lu Feng was very confident in her son. She told him to take good care of his sister and let them go. The brother and sister first went to the brigade leader's house to borrow a bicycle. Coincidentally, they met Huo Wenkai at the door. Then they learned that the brigade leader's bicycle had been lent out, so they could only walk. Chu Dongsheng was not willing to let his sister walk so far, so he simply borrowed a handcart to push Chu Xiang. Chu Xiang sat on the handcart and chatted with Chu Dongsheng about the latest news in the county. Huo Wenkai walked beside Chu Dongsheng, and Chu Dongsheng occasionally asked him a few questions. Gradually, the three of them chatted. Halfway through, Chu Dongsheng was a little tired. He looked at Huo Wenkai and said, "Help me push for a while. I need to rest." Huo Wenkai took the handcart without saying anything. He pushed it more steadily than Chu Dongsheng. Chu Xiang looked back at him and smiled. "Thank you, Comrade Huo Wenkai. What are you going to the county for?" Huo Wenkai's voice was low and pleasant. "To send something to my family." Chu Xiang looked around and saw that there was no one around. She said, "Then you are going to the alley to exchange things?" "Yes," Huo Wenkai replied. Everyone in the brigade knew that his family was landlords. He had been paying attention to Chu Xiang's expression after he finished speaking. When he saw that Chu Xiang did not hold any grudges, he subconsciously heaved a sigh of relief. He felt much more relaxed. Chu Xiang smiled at her brother. "Brother, you are afraid that it will not be safe to bring me along. Now that Comrade Huo Wenkai is going with you, it will be safe, right? I want to take a look too. Take me with you." Chu Dongsheng hesitated for a moment. Although he was caught in a place like the black market, nothing would happen. At most, all his belongings would be confiscated and he would be reprimanded. However, if his sister was reprimanded, how sad would it be? However, when he saw Chu Xiang's expectant eyes, he hesitated for a while and agreed. He even said to Huo Wenkai, "Be alert later. If anything goes wrong, protect my sister first. It's okay if the things are lost. I will compensate you later." Huo Wenkai nodded and said, "Don't worry." In fact, Chu Xiang did not need their protection at all. However, they did not know that their intention to protect her was very warm. Chu Xiang was relieved and let them arrange everything. She did not need to think too much. When they arrived at the county, they went to the hospital together. Chu Xiang was already fine. The doctor checked her and found that she had no sequelae. Chu Dongsheng was finally completely relieved and happy. They went to the black market and fortunately, they did not encounter any kidnappers. Chu Dongsheng sold the 4 rabbits and 2 pheasants he brought and bought some fine grains. He also wanted to buy snacks for Chu Xiang, but was rejected by Chu Xiang. There were many delicious foods in her space. She still had to find a way to take them out. It was too wasteful to buy snacks in the black market. Chu Xiang rolled her eyes and whispered to Chu Dongsheng, "Brother, I think cooking is very simple. Making snacks is also easy. Don't buy them. I will try to make them when I go back." Chu Dongsheng remembered that Chu Xiang's cooking was indeed getting better and better. He nodded and bought white sugar, brown sugar, rock sugar and so on for Chu Xiang to make snacks. He really doted on his sister. After they finished, they saw that Huo Wenkai had already bought a large bag of things. There were fine grains, cloth, shoes, cotton and medicine. Chu Dongsheng saw Chu Xiang was stunned, so he explained to her. Huo Wenkai's family is in a farm reform. It seems that they are living a hard life and they are sick. The winter there is much colder than here, and there is nothing good there. Huo Wenkai sends things there every month. He is afraid that it is not enough, and he is also afraid that others will take them. He sends as much as he can. Look at his clothes and shoes. He didn't even mend them. He used all the work points he earned to buy these things with our villagers. Chu Xiang laughed. Then he is quite affectionate. Chu Xiang did not think much. She remembered the things sold in the black market and the price. She said to Chu Dongsheng, "I have an idea. Brother, next time we come back to sell things, we can braise the prey we catch. The price can be higher. There are also snacks and melon seeds. It is tiring for you to come here. It will be too hard if you don't earn more." Chu Dongsheng rubbed her hair. You are so smart. I also thought about it, but it is not easy to sell if it is not delicious. After all, the price is much higher. It's okay. Just try it. If you can't sell it, you can take it home and eat it yourself. They discussed for a while. Huo Wenkai had finished buying. Then they accompanied Huo Wenkai to send things before returning to the village. On the way back, Huo Wenkai was silent. Chu Xiang guessed that he was probably worried about his family. He did not know if his family could use the things he sent out, and he did not know if his family was living well. It was like a stone sinking into the sea. However, there was no other way. He could only continue to work hard and earn work points to borrow money to buy things to send out. This was probably the sorrow of this era. Chu Xiang saw that he was unhappy. She thought for a while and asked him, "Which farm does your family live on? Is it far from here? Where is it?" Huo Wenkai pursed his lips and pointed in a direction. "It is in the northeast. It belongs to a farm in Inner Mongolia called Baha Farm. It will take 6 or 7 hours to get there by train." Chu Xiang's mind moved, and the heaven and earth mirror instantly appeared in Baha Farm. She could see the scene there. There were few people in Baha Farm. There were many cattle and sheep, but there were few crops, and the growth was not very good. Chu Xiang saw that they were communicating in Mongolian. Only an old couple and a middle-aged man spoke Mandarin. They had been working all the time and rarely rested. The others did not communicate much with them either. She watched for a while, and heard a girl who came to get milk call the old man Hua in broken Mandarin. She guessed that they should be Huo Wenkai's family. She looked at Huo Wenkai and asked, "How many of your family members are there?" Huo Wenkai lowered his head. "My father, my grandparents. I only have 3 relatives." Chu Xiang comforted him. "Don't worry. They will be fine." Chu Dongxing patted Huo Wenkai's shoulder and comforted him. "My mother often says that my sister is lucky. She is lucky no matter what. Don't worry too much." Okay. Huo Wenkai did not know if it was true, but he hoped that Chu Xiang's words were true. When he saw the smile on Chu Xiang's face, he felt a little warm in his heart. Then he thought of the matter of the youth training center and frowned. He reminded him, "Chu Dongxing, don't let Chu Xiang be alone in the future." You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.